Hey, yeah. Round of applause for my motherfucking supporters. Welcome to another episode of It's Up There Podcast. I am Big Loon, your host with the most. It's Up There Podcast has become influential in the culture, and I can only thank you guys for tuning in every week. If you are interested and on this audio adventure with us and you want to see the video, you head over to It's Up There Podcast on Patreon, which is www.patreon.com/It's Up There Podcast for the video the same day as the audio. You go there. I do have a YouTube that I'm uploading videos on, FOGFO TV on YouTube. We want to say welcome and thank you to all our returning listeners, new listeners, anyone that's tapped into us all around the world. We are happy to be in the position we are in. Today is our 100th episode. If you are looking at the visual, you see our little setup celebrating 100 episodes in. I think we've came to a milestone. I think it's interesting for us to be 100 episodes in by ourselves. And the amount of game we've been able to put down and give out week after week, and people been able to say, yo, this dude is not running out, you know. And I think about that, to be honest with you. I'm like, yo, when you gonna run out of this shit? You know, because everybody like, yo, dude, I ain't never heard a metaphor like that. I be really freestyling. Like, I know some people probably craft and come in with their shit crafted out, but I be freestyling. So I just be like, man, I really appreciate people who appreciate what it is I do in the game. But we celebrate 100 episodes. We feel happy. We feel grateful, especially to be 100 episodes in with one deal secured and two more on the table. I just think that we're in a place that few people has been able to work themselves in, and it's only because of the supporters, the people that's on my Patreon, the people that's involved with reposting and sharing and putting people up on it. It's because of them why this thing is moving in the way that it's moving. And in me, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. I try not to be greedy in the space, right? Because the amount of work I'm putting in and the quality of it clearly is better than some people that's making more money than me. So that could put you in a weird place as a creator, but you got to stay cognizant and understand that the structure involved with position in this game. Again, as a 7-foot tall center like Shaq, you don't ask for the ball at the 3-point line. You work your way down there by the box, then you ask for the ball, and you should be in a position to where it's an undeniable thing to get you the ball. So that's basically what we're doing at this point, is working our way in that position the way everybody in the culture has to get us the ball for the culture to score. And speaking of getting us the ball for the culture to score, that's what Nore was speaking about. We'll jump right into the show. We'll talk about the 100 episodes later. I think I need to deal with the coach and speak about something that Nore has said that I've echoed and said thousands of times, that we've heard Joe Budden, Charlemagne say. But I know when I say it, first of all, let's deal with me saying it. And before I even get to that, let's deal with what Nore said. Let's put that on the screen. All right, let's put it on the screen. Tweet from Noriega from Drink Champs. David Letterman is my favorite, but man, why go there? Why go to Ellen before $1 million worth of game, Joe Budden or the Champs, or even Twitter shit? Another tweet from Nore. I'm going to be honest. Even going to Oprah or Gayle is trash at this point. We control our culture. Why go outside of it? And his first tweet was, tweet from Nore. I have been the best to this culture. Have always put hip hop first. And I see you guys go to Ellen and David Letterman and Zane Lowe's and treat them with more respect than the culture. But you say you want black excellence. And as you hear Nore speak about this, I've always echoed this. You've always heard me say, yo, everybody speak this black excellence and what we doing to put on. Ain't nobody putting people on. If anything, dudes is ignoring the put on. Because anybody you put on, they think that it's competition. It's a weird thing that's happening. But I second the notion that we tend to treat people outside of our culture with more respect than we do for our culture. I often get asked, Loon, why are you not afraid to speak about this? This may make people ahead of you uncomfortable. And I tell them that anyone ahead of me should have knowledge like me or more than me. So that I would expect them to understand that I speak from love. Right? And a lot of people say that, yo, I speak from love, I'm coming at you with love. They not able to explain it. But I am. I speak without judgment. And that's what love is. It's dealing with the information. Let me be clear, too, about David Letterman and that show. I watched that show. That's a great show. David Letterman is a legend. But the reason why I think you guys need to play tennis with the people that's involved with the culture, it's a slew of reasons. One of those being that when you up, everything is shining. And when they can only write good reports about you, everybody seems to have your best interest. But on your way down, because what goes up must come down, and you not exception. You not the exception to that. So when you on your way down, you're going to need some of those people, because one thing about media, it stays right at a certain little rate. It don't never really go down. And so those people reporting, you need to make sure that you involve yourself with people that got your best interests. Or at the bare minimum, understand your fight. Understand your plight. Y'all going to sit with people who don't eat the same food as you, who don't watch the same movies, don't understand the music, think that some of the people that you enjoy are robbers, killers, and thieves. And you sit with them and share some of your experiences and wonder why they take them and they misrepresent the situation. Oftentimes you'll see me in my interviews when I'm talking to some of those guys, right? When they may say something that I catch at the moment that could be misconstrued, I take it and regurgitate it in a way where it kind of straightens out, where it's no wiggle room for the bullshit. But again, I watch all the white boys because I have to model my business after what they've done. I understand who runs the real space and how many of those podcasts are major podcasts. So if I'm really watching the market and I'm only dealing with rap, hip hop music, I'm in the wrong spot. That's why my podcast is society, music, and culture. Right? I try to deal with those things. I don't want to be boxed into music because that's the game they play. And something happens. I'll give y'all some game. Something happens when you become mega famous. You got to think everybody around you they'll put around you agree with you. Everybody around you agree with you, something ain't right. Now, you a wizard. Now, you pretty swift. But sometimes I know them celebrity people is pushing the limit and people is still agreeing with them. So they knowing they working. You've employed your friendship. You never want to employ your friendship. That's a bad thing, right? But when you become mega famous, they stop telling you what to do in a verbal way. They become crafty. I keep telling people, when the money enters the conversation, you're dealing with high-level jujitsu mind games. They no longer telling you what to do, like, yo, Kanye, do this, or yo, Meek, do this, or Jay-Z, do that. Nobody's doing that. What they do now is they bring you data. But the trick about that is you don't understand the data. What you understand is their interpretation of the data. So you don't really even know what you're looking at. What we don't do in our culture is learn how to research. I remember talking to a white boy and he was in college. I never went to college, but he was in college. And he was telling me, yo, I got to write a paper, man. And I got to get all this information. And I got to thinking, you know me, inquisitive, man. Yo, tell me, yo, what you just Googling shit? Boy, I bet that take all day. You gotta fact check all that shit. Because Google, sometimes it's a search engine. So the algorithm can play certain games and play certain things on the 30th page that's really relevant to the right. So it's a situation. He was like, nah, it's a way to Google. I said, what? Nah, it's a way to Google. Boom, he pulled his phone out. Now we in the middle of a store or something, but I stop everything I'm doing for information. That's what kind of nigga I am. So we pull his phone out, go to his email. Evidently, he emailing it to himself because he working on it. He showed me the paper. It's about, I don't know how many pages, but he's showing me what links and how he referenced it and how he Googled it. I said, man, send me that. He said, what's your email? You know, first he was like, send you. You know, he didn't understand it. But what he don't understand is you paid for that structure, and I need to involve myself with understanding that. You know, I don't want to Google shit and just don't know whatever pop up, I go with it. I'm telling you, it's a way. So he said, all right. So after I explained to him like why I wanted it and what I do, he sent it to me. Then he said, I'm going to send you this other paper on how to research on Google. It changed everything. So what I'm saying is they're going to bring you some data, knowing the data is going to be the reason you should make the decision that they want you to make. Right? So let's say they want you to make a decision to invest in this company. They're going to go get all the data, extract all the shit that's bad about it, and bring all the good shit to you and propose it where it looks like a win for you because you're interested in making money. You're interested in getting into business, doing this or that, right? So again, they no longer say, Loon, do this. Meek, do this. Todd, do this. Whoever do this. They no longer do that. And so how does that tie into what Nore was saying about Cardi, Dave, and all of that, Loon? Well, let me speed it up. So what happens is because now that they are in a situation to influence you, because they know what outcome you're looking for. So they now tailor their message to you in a way that fits the outcome that they know you want. So they don't, again, it's an indirect way to get you to do what they would like for you to do. So what they do to our people who have very little to no understanding about their brand equity and power, they end up coming to someone like a Cardi or like a Nicki or one of these big names. It just happened to Durk. We'll get to that. But they come to one of these big names and they say, yo, based on the numbers, man, you got all the people that's looking at such a It's Up There podcast. Really, you go there, that's a thing, that's cool. But if you go to David Letterman, the data shows that, 44% of the people that's listening, that you can up your sales 22% if you go over there, because his audience, at least 44% of them are not tapped into what you've been doing since 2012. It shows here that, right? So they come to you with this game, and sometimes you get a Kanye and say, y'all don't care what the numbers say, I want to go sit down with Loon. And we got to know that, yo, I'm playing a long game. Y'all talking about the first week. Y'all trying to influence the first week with these little moves. I need to go sit with Loon because might start talking about my pregnancy and help 200,000 women that we didn't even know we were going to get to that. We got to the album, this, that turned into, he just had this, right? And so when we talk to each other, we are compatible, so we're able to relate. Our communication, it reaches a vibration that's very hard. And even a wizard like David Letterman, because he's a wizard. He is a wizard in this space. Even someone like him can relate in a way that's tangible for black culture. Now, the casual fan, it may do something for. And again, the reason why that's appealing to the artist is because the people ahead of them or the people involved with them at a higher level, i.e. record label, corporate exec, have came to them with some data. They don't come to them and say, yo, go to David Letterman instead of Drink Champs. Now, they'll say that about a smaller podcast, even in our culture. Now, we got some talking to do about the infighting in our culture, too. Right? But right now, I'm dealing with what's happening between us and counterculture to us, right? But we got a situation in our culture where is yo, they don't want to go to It's Up There podcast because they want to go to Drink Champs. Or they don't want to go to, right? So it's some infighting going on in our shit as well. We got to share platforms as well. But dealing with the bigger picture, when I view Letterman and Cardi's situation, it feels like a label move. It feels like, again, they become high level in coercing you. Let's say you like a little podcast, you like Loon podcast. I'm signed over here to revolt. You ain't really got no album out. You really want to come sit down with dude and chop game. Dude chopping game. I just want to go holler at him. Give him a boost, chop some game. The label might say, that's not a good look, man. We're not out yet. We don't have anything. And these same niggas claiming boss won't stand on their own feet. And be like, nah, I'm going $1 million worth of game. That's just what that is. Okay, well, I'm doing 2 interviews. I'm doing It's Up There podcast and David Letterman. I'm doing Drink Champs and Jimmy Fallon. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna cut them out of it. Cause if I'm gonna speak to anybody, I gotta speak to my people too now. I just was speaking about it with Durk. We wonder how Durk ended up in a situation with the fake Durk being even having enough power to do what he did with the Tekashi thing. It's because the interview that Durk went and done gave equity to the people that was involved with it. Had Durk never went and done that interview, we would never be involved in that kind of situation, in my opinion. Durk went and he did only a couple of interviews, that place being one of them, because the culture is for sale and they outpricing black people. Also, I need the fans and people listening to understand how a lot of these podcasts, and I get it because I'm in that fight as well. A lot of these shows, I'm gonna stop calling it a podcast because it's bigger than that. But a lot of these shows live in a place where interviews are important to the business model, right? I've even saw where, like, when you gotta have a package and send some things over to some of these brands that sponsor shows and things like that and do ads, so you gotta have something to send over. And I've seen some of the other podcasts pitch, right? And it says in there that, like, culture leading, interview based, conversation around X, Y, and Z, right? So it's pitching to even their sponsors and their investors that, it's interview based. And that's important because if it's interview based and someone from our culture has something coming out, or they come in a position to want to get a word out, they should do it with us. Because again, if I spin off and say Taylor Swift, come holler at me over here on Revolt, they ain't doing it. Respectfully. They gonna go holler at Rogan. Or they gonna go holler at somebody on their side respectfully. And if they do come holler at Loon, it'll be 5th, 6th, or 7th. Breakfast Club or something like that. You dig what I'm saying? So you got to pay attention. But without judgment, I truly believe that when a certain amount of money gets involved, they get to a position where they start to coerce our people and we start to limit our voice in the cockpit. Right? The whole airline is based on our back. And in the cockpit, they've convinced us that they're making the right decision, again, because we have an interpretation of the data that they bring us. We didn't go get our own data. What happens is they say the numbers say if I go there, it does this. They say the numbers say that week 3 that my people wasn't this much involved in it. And I'm not sure whether or not, again, I've already explained how these labels have an interest or have equity in these streaming companies. So it's already a conflict of interest if we look at it that way. But let's set that to the side. Again, they put us in a situation where they start to make us believe that we've got all the juice we can out of our culture once we become mega famous. And I disagree. I think we just gotta upgrade the set, upgrade the equipment, upgrade the style wherever we shooting at. You know what I mean? Let's get with one of these network, put something to get right. You dig what I'm saying? But nah, man, again, I speak about it, man. I think the culture is always speaking about how we want to uplift each other. And I just don't see the effects or the evidence of anybody doing anything outside of saying it when the camera's in their face. Oh, yeah, it's something to say when a camera in your face. Black excellence, black this, black that, get the black voices out. We want to amplify. It's something to say when the camera's on. It feel good too, and they mean it in that moment. But when it started to got some risk involved with helping them black people, man, we got to look at this thing 25 times, man. Make sure it's like, come on, man, let's do what we say we gonna do. The culture guarantees certain things. The culture guarantees if Cardi sit with Nore, there's a certain outcome with that. It's a certain reach involved with that. Just the same way Kanye did it. The culture guarantees certain things. Let's place ourselves in a situation to execute on the things that the culture guarantees. Let's not be afraid. But then I look at the other side. If I'm Cardi or if I'm Nicki or if I'm a mega artist, if I'm one of these people, Kanye, somebody like that, a lot of the voices that's currently in the culture, they came up with. So what if I don't like, respectfully to my brothers, I fuck with everybody. But I'm just having a conversation on the show, on a pod. But respectfully, what if I'm Ye and I don't like Joe Budden? You know, what if I don't like Gilly? You know, what if I'm super locked in with Wade? I don't really like Gilly. You know, again, we need to have some more voices. What if Act don't do it for me? You know what I'm saying? Now, again, we got to amplify more voices in the culture. These people have relationships with these people that's currently high level in this space. A lot of them used to be rappers like your Joe Buttons, like your Norris, like your Gilly. So they had relationships prior to podcasting. Then you got to remember what I said a few weeks ago. The culture is for sale and they outpricing black people. They dealing with people that's not of the culture, but they're in the culture. They're looking at sheer numbers. So they outprice themselves. By the time they're interested, the ticket is 10x because you've been looking at the numbers too long. If you understood impact and you respected the future, you would invest in things prior to them being in a place where you got to now deal with me needing 10x of what you had in your budget for it. Charlemagne says all the time they think white ice colder. And what really makes it uncomfortable for me is that I don't study the game only in our subsection of culture. I view everything. So I see Rogan doing handoffs. I see Schultz putting this guy on. I see all these other podcast dudes sharing their audience. Then I look over here at us and we fighting inside of the fight. So we still coming out performing well as a totality though. Music, podcast, hip hop still is, yeah, let's get it. But we fighting in the inside of that. But comedy, them white boys, they ain't fighting at all. They all sharing their audience. Their audience. When they come to town, they hit everybody. Ain't no effect because you see Bert Kreischer on Joe Rogan podcast. He go sit with Tom Segura. He go sit with Chris D'Elia. He go sit with Joey Diaz. He go sit with Ryan Stickler. And it don't do nothing. All of them do good. They showing us what to do, but on this side is I'm only gonna speak to Drink Champs, or he don't have enough numbers. Now you put him in position. Go sit with him. If you enjoy them, ain't nobody saying sit with somebody that you don't enjoy, but sometimes they'll even enjoy some of these people, and because the numbers ain't in a place, I ain't really gonna do it. And you get disappointed on your way up. But I do want to give a round of applause for Rashad from Earn Your Leisure. He the realest guy I done bumped into in this industry. Hands down, the realest nigga I done run into in this industry, man. Like, anything I've needed, business-wise, furthering my career, anything I've needed, dude, been right there, one call away. And I hit him, I'm like, yo, bro, I be uncomfortable with calling y'all, man. Like, I be telling B. Marshall that shit. Don't be reaching out to dudes. I come from a place where it feel weak, and that's something we got to break, too. Because I come in, okay, I'm doing my own thing, and I shouldn't feel away from reaching out to someone I got a genuine relationship with and ask some questions about some things. And they never done nothing to do to make it feel that way. It's just, that's how you feel as a black creator coming up. It's just a weird thing that happens. So I hit him like, yo, this is just a quick story, man, why I really believe these dudes is really about what they talking about in regards to trying to help people. Right? When it's time, it's time. When the relationship is there, it's there, and they standing by. So I hit him. I'm like, yo, man, Wallo and Gilly and them coming to my town. I'm a big fan of them, man. I want to push up on them, man. He was like, oh, man, yeah, let me get in contact with Wallo. That ain't nothing. I'm like, say what? In my mind, I'm thinking, yo, he can just tell me he finna hit dude up and it's just that easy. Not culture, is it? So I hung up the phone. A couple days go by, he hit me back. Yo, I just talked to bro. Bro said X, Y, and Z, man. Y'all definitely gonna link up, such and such, and we'll get it done. I'm like, yo, it was that easy for us to link up because I had my relationship with one of my people that plugged me in with one of the top people in the game. It's just like those kind of things you can never repay people for. Because not only what it does for me externally, what it does internally. what it does for the whereabouts of my confidence, what it does for how I feel about, yo, I might really got a shot at changing some. I'm in a circle of people that's controlling the game. And it gives me a certain level of like, yo, keep going, dog, keep going. You know what I'm saying? But dude, one of the realest dudes in the game, man, from you know, whatever I asked them dudes about, man, them dudes really coming through, man, with the advice, man, and the helping, man. So I want to send a shout out to them while I'm spending time speaking on this Nore situation in our culture, thinking white ice is colder via Charlemagne the God. But yeah, man, shout out to Rashad from Earn Your Leisure, man. It's a blessing to have people like that in your circle, especially as an independent guy, you know, coming in the culture, having those kind of people that'll make phone calls and put you in position to help out your situation, man. We just don't speak about it enough. And before I move on, again, I just want to let everybody know that don't disregard the influence of the people that's invested in these acts. Don't always look at the outcome of a move as coming directly from that artist's brain. A lot of time they're fighting behind the scenes after the fact, especially because, again, in this industry, they're some of the best at packaging and bringing it to you like it's no way it can miss, or it's high probability if we go this way, we gonna get the outcome that we all been looking for. We gonna get some money if we go this way. And us having limited to no information about streaming and how all this shit put together, what you gonna just bank on your gut? And that's what a lot of our greats have had to do in times where they have limited to no understanding, and these people have it on paper that says, if you go the other way, you're gonna fail. Look, it's all right here. We're explaining it to you. This line says this line says that. But again, a crafty mind, a savvy thinker understands right then, I see some data, but now I'm only dealing with your interpretation of that data, because I don't know what them lines mean. I don't know what you're saying when you said after testing 20% of all overall, 30% of 10%. We've now, I don't know what you meant when you done that. But I do know one thing, I'm dealing with your interpretation of something. And what is your job? Your job is to get me to be in a position where both of us make money. And you think, people that I'm dealing with, that white people may do more than my people. So you ask me to spin off and go that way. And I may like that dude over there too. Like, hey, yo, David Letterman, he's a legend. I fuck with him. But let me find somebody in the culture I need to sit with too, though. Because they don't know what it's like being pregnant as a black woman, or having a black woman pregnant by you. They don't know what it's like to have dealt with infidelity, but being in a position of where you rich and you come from nothing. So now you're dealing with people who ain't dealing with the same experiences as you. When you go into the dating pool, now you dealing with a level of people who everybody I pluck out of this new dating pool, millionaire niggas. Everybody I pluck out this dating pool ain't got my experiences. They come from well-to-do bourgeoisie mamas and shit. So we can't relate, but I found one I can relate to in this same area. It's like finding somebody out in the woods. Ain't nobody out there. You found somebody. I'ma stick with that person, cause boy, it's lonely out here. As a black youngster, millionaire, it's lonely when you show up to that private jet, Clearport. Yeah, everybody make it seem fun. And make it seem funny when they taking pictures outside the jet and the lady bringing them the food. But every time we show up to the jet Clearport, it's only me and my niggas. Ain't no whole bunch of black people up there. So I still got to deal with people who ain't dealing with my people. We seen a glimpse of it when Thug and Gunn and them had they run in with the private jet people. So although to my people, it look like, yo, he doing a hell of a thing, I'm still battling with them, battling with me being here. Picture me in one of these all white parties. These is white billionaire Loon show up blonde in his hair, repping some rap, talking podcast. But he suited and booted tonight with the pointed toe shoes on. and some Cartier glasses because he blending in with the fashion. You know what I'm talking about? But they don't know how to take him. They don't know nothing about how that black dude get in here. But they all got to act like, yeah, okay, yeah. They got to act like it's cool. A lot of times it is cool, but it's a gap that need to be. We got to bridge some kind of gap right there, some understanding of, yo, what you viewing it wrong. Them chains, what you viewing as high level drug dealer because I got a bunch of chains on, it's just trophies. It's saying, look at what I made it through. Your perspective is off when you dealing with us. You think I'm acting tough. Now the world made me tough. What I gotta go through. I gotta live close to a nigga, kill somebody I love. Mama and them don't got the money to move away from these niggas. Killed our people. I might run into them at the Kroger, at the Walmart. I might see them at the red light, and you asking me to just keep my head, just don't say nothing. And I'm dealing with emotion and not understanding where the next meal come from, right? But sometimes none of them understand that. Some of them that's in power get close enough to us to be like, oh, I've been looking at that wrong the whole time. It's like, nah, that ain't what that is, man. We ain't coming to hurt nobody. We coming not to get robbed. That's why it's like that. We take from each other. They'll walk past the bank and rob me. Walk past the bank and rob me on the bank parking lot. I got a $25,000 chain on. They'll rob me in the bank parking lot, and the bank got $1 million in it. They won't go in the bank. We take and rob from each other. A lot of time you dealing with defense, but it come off as offense because you don't know what you're looking at. You see what I'm saying? When you're dealing with a high level individual, I got to move a certain way. It's on defense. Half the time showing I'm moving militant is part of the defense. But it's viewed as offense because it's like, I remember they used to show, man, look at them moving like the president. Yeah, that's to show people. That's a message. But again, when we deal with some of those people, man, on the other side, they have a limited understanding of us, and we got to bridge the gap. I'm disappointed in the culture about a few things, but again, I'm able to speak about them, and I'm not afraid to speak about Cardi B or David Letterman or Joe Budden or anyone in our culture, you know, because I know I'm not speaking with any malice. Again, I'm speaking with love, and love means, when you speak with love, it means to speak with the absence of judgment. I'm not judging anyone. We're trying to deal with the information and what is the best way to preserve our culture. What is the best way to provide our culture with our culture? You see what I'm saying? Who has the best understanding of what the next move may be? I always think that innovation comes from the bottom or the middle. But again, we got to get our own interpretation of the data that these people are bringing us. Because if we continue to listen to them, they're going to always say go that way because they're dealing with sheer numbers. Sometimes we got to Elon Musk it. Sometimes we got to Kanye West it. Sometimes we got to Jay-Z it. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, don't do title. It'll never work. I know it. Yeah, it'll never work, right? Yeah, woo, you laughing at me, how I'm doing title. I could never survive with Spotify and them, right? Yeah, I get it. Right. Never do title. You right. And then in the back of your head, man, f them people. I know my culture gonna stand by title, and I'm finna go get everybody. We gonna do title. That was because they had confused Jay. They had beat his mind in a place to where they may have started to penetrate. And it may be harder than I think. So he went and got everybody. Right? Rihanna, this and that. Then ain't no way it can lose. Now you go back in them boardrooms. Now what? I'm Jay-Z. I got Rihanna. I got this. I got Cardi. I got this. Now they can't say nothing. See, that was a boardroom move that didn't translate well. But to get funding and to get around the naysayers, you got to package it in a way that's undeniable, because they gonna say it don't make sense based on the data. That ain't gonna work. Title will never work based on the data. We'll never do it based on the data. Now look at it. You see what I'm saying? But we got to go with what we know our culture. Man, my culture guaranteed that if I can get the better sound, I'll win. The coach will guarantee if I pay more, man, we won't die in this space. Even though we dealing with tycoons, if we can put the credits there, if we can do little things that cater to our culture and make our culture live there in a different way, we gonna win. And that's how we gotta do. Same with Revolt. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the culture guaranteeing us. The culture guarantees us. Let's just keep it moving. And that's how we gotta approach it. But they gonna be great at convincing you that, like, yo, the numbers say, like, man, if you drop another album right now, that's not good. Like, you at least need to take 18 months to let that other album get its. Yo, well, what about Future? He did 2 back-to-back at time and got hotter than ever. Came off he did what? What you mean? Some people gotta say, like Future. Somebody over there probably say, yo, drop your nuts, drop the instrumentals, drop them shits on Apple Music, drop everything. Well, man, the numbers, man, that may not be a good idea because now they might not listen to the song because, man, drop all that shit. Sometimes we got to trust the culture. That's my opinion on that. Let's talk about the school shooting. For those of you unaware, there was a school shooting in Texas. 19 kids found dead, 2 teachers. And as much as I get tired of having to report on things that happen this way, man, I'm starting to think that we have to take our own approach in how to handle these matters. I mean, we're literally fresh off the guy in Buffalo driving hours to hurt people, and then we deal with this. I know we're in a media-driven or political-driven atmosphere, so there's going to be a lot of talk around gun laws and things like that when we deal with death. The idea that people don't have any emotional ties to children being harmed speaks to people even being humanized in any way. Over at this Up There podcast, we don't want to see children in any situation where they have to be hurt, harmed, bothered, mistreated, anything like that. And it's important that a black man is loud about that, because everybody kiki and cacan about this, the internet, but I know that we leaving this for people that we'll never be involved with, so I don't play that kind of game. But the children are off limits where we come from. Amongst these 19 kids, he killed 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders, barricaded them in a room, and was able to kill that many. Very interesting situation. I think that there's some factors in this that speaks to our understanding of why we don't trust whatever system that they tend to put in place. Because if you ask about some of these systems, again, they'll bring you data of their interpretation of what they'll do when something happens, and then something happens and everything they interpreted goes out the window. And so for me and my children, we got to have our own interpretation of things. But this guy in particular, man, was a madman. Let's look at this clip. Let's look at a little bit of it, and we'll come back with some game.
America, here we are again. This is not a new nightmare. It is a recurring one. Another mass shooting, this time Texas. At least 19 children murdered, shot dead with a high-powered rifle. 2 teachers also killed. An elementary school turned killing field. There are new details this evening, none of them good, none of it easy to hear. The best we can hope for tonight is for context. In these early hours, there is no comfort to be had. ABC's Maria Villarreal arrived in the scene in Uvalde, Texas, shortly after the shooting. She joins us tonight.
Byron, this is still a very active scene here at the elementary school, and it'll continue to look like this throughout the night and probably into tomorrow morning as well. We understand right now the Texas Rangers are now leading this investigation. They brought in a mobile crime scene to help process what is happening inside the school. Right now, it was too much for local law enforcement to handle the weight of the tragedy, too much for their hearts as well. Tonight, horror and heartbreak in this tiny South Texas community. Earlier today, a mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, killing at least 21 people including 19 children. The deadliest school shooting in nearly a decade and the third deadliest in America since Virginia Tech.
The size of the devastation here, the number of lives lost, is very significant.
It's elementary age kids, 9, 10, totally helpless, totally harmless, the shot in their own classroom. That image should really burn in people's memory as to we shouldn't have to relive Sandy Hook.
Officials say the alleged gunman, Salvador Ramos, also shot his own grandmother before attacking students at the elementary school.
What happened in Uvalde is a horrific tragedy that cannot be tolerated in the state of Texas.
Among those who lost their lives, 10-year-old Javier Lopez, who was in the 4th grade, his family sharing this photo with us this evening. 19 students were killed and 2 teachers, including 4th grade teacher Eva Mireles.
School has children that are in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade.
2 responding officers were also shot but are expected to survive. Officials say the alleged shooter was killed by responding law enforcement.
Mr. Ramos, the shooter, he himself is deceased and is believed that responding officers killed him.
Good evening, fellow Americans.
Tonight, President Biden speaking to the country on yet another mass shooting, just days after 10 people were killed in a grocery store in Buffalo, New York.
I'd hoped when I became president I would not have to do this again. Another massacre, Uvalde, Texas, an elementary school. Beautiful, innocent, 2nd, 3rd, 4th graders.
The rampage began late this morning. Officials say the alleged shooter shot his grandmother, then turned to the school at 11:32 a.m. local time.
An 18-year-old male who resided in Uvalde. It's believed that he abandoned his vehicle.
There's a car crash outside Robb Elementary School. The suspect, we're told, is immediately engaged by a Uvalde Independent School District police officer. And that doesn't stop the shooter. He's wearing body armor. He shoots the police officer and then makes his way inside the school.
We need to respond to South Grove and Mill Street to establish a perimeter.
Multiple state and local law enforcement, FBI, ATF, and Border Patrol racing to respond. Sources say authorities have recovered an AR-15 style rifle and numerous magazines. The school, with some 600 students, locked down. Reportedly, students crawling through windows to escape. Parents desperate for any information.
We just hear all kinds of gunshots going off, like nonstop, like constantly gunshots. And then we're over here all scared on the ground, fearing for our lives.
In the mayhem, families trying desperately to reunite with their loved ones. One father here searching for his 10-year-old daughter.
If we could get to the funeral home.
Why would you ask me that?
Because we can't find my daughter.
What does this say about where we are right now? I mean, this is a small town, man.
Pretty sad. Really sad. What this world's coming to.
We're also learning more about who committed this heinous attack. Officials say the alleged killer, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, was a student at Uvalde High School. He's believed to have acted alone. Law enforcement sources telling ABC News they're investigating possible social media accounts linked to the alleged shooter, which include images of guns and other violent material. Law enforcement also telling ABC News that he reportedly sent videos and photos of guns to users on various social media platforms. One user saying that last week he showed himself with guns, making statements like, "Wait till tomorrow."
Law enforcement is collecting every piece of information they can get their hands on in reference to social media, friends, associates, families. What did they see? What did they hear? My guess, even by now, they've probably got a pretty good picture of who he is, what motivated him, and how he acquired like this AR-15.
Located 80 miles west of San Antonio, Uvalde is a small town with just over 16,000 people living here. Robb Elementary School has about 600 students in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grades. The school's last day was supposed to be this Thursday.
So those were two clips of what we know so far about that shooting. Again, on the heels of the Buffalo, New York shooting. These things are more prevalent in America. If I had to try to wrap my mind around it, and I'm no expert at this, but if I had to try to wrap my mind around it, I know we have a gun issue, and it's really an unsolvable issue in my opinion. I'm not any scholar, but if I look at it, I understand that the amount of guns that are in America is unsustainable. There's no buyback program that you can do. What happens is if they want the guns in America, they got to go take them. And if they go take them, that's a slippery slope because now they invade on rights that it can get slippery. But before we deal with gun laws and things, let's talk a little bit about the guy who's responsible for the massacre. Young dude, 18 years old, went and got two AR-15s or AK-47s and went into an elementary school. Reports were coming out that he was bullied in school about his clothes. And I have some thoughts about that. You know, just about as I raise young boys in this world who may or may not end up more privileged than someone else. How do I raise them in a way where they don't laugh at things that's unusual to them? That's a whole different conversation. But this young man here, or this piece of shit here, didn't go to the school where he was allegedly picked on. He went to an elementary school. That's gut-wrenching. Also, reports came out saying that, he was not bullied. He was just trying to be a bully and nobody respect his bullying. So he wanted to be heard. Therefore, he did something that would scream as loud as he could to the world. I tend to, in this Up There podcast, not say the names of these shooters because I think it's unimportant. I do like to talk about it because I think it's information involved in what culture we live in and how society is moving around our children. This dude shot his grandmother in the face. She survived. But at the time, he didn't know. And I'm going to show you guys the inside of the house he left her in. But he shot his grandmother first. Usually that's what they do because they know that whatever mother or whoever they have there probably alert people that they just left the house mad with guns. So he shot her, she survived, and he headed over to the school. Why he picked this school, not sure. I do agree that there's a conversation to be had around mental health in this country. Even more around black men's mental health. But I believe that there's a large conversation to be had now it's a lot of interesting things happening in this situation. We're going to deal with the police interaction and involvement in this Texas shooting. We're going to examine this and speak to our lack of faith in why the system doesn't protect us. It only provides punishment to us. So the current structure involved has no issue with executing a search warrant and picking young thug up in a way where he is neutralized. But they cannot find a way to neutralize an active shooter. For me, that speaks to the preparation. To me, it seems like we're not dealing with people that's interested in anything outside of drug dealing and what they consider to be a game. But that's another conversation. Let's look at this police report. According to situations, police engaged him. Now, why they used engaged, I don't know. But for lack of a better term, police ran in the dude and he shot one of them. He then spent 40 minutes inside a building with people's children, executing children. Let's listen to a little bit of what the police chief or one of the police representatives said about how they handled it, and then we'll come back with some information about how we feel about police and their involvement in this situation and others.
Crashes into the ditch, as previously described. The teacher runs to the room 132 to retrieve a phone, and that same teacher walks back to the exit door and door remains propped open. There were two males, as reported by Regional Director Escalon yesterday. There were two males at a funeral home that when they heard the crash, they went to the crash scene. When they arrived at the crash scene, before they got there, they saw a man with a gun exit the passenger side with a backpack. They immediately began running. Ramos began shooting at him. Did not hit him. One of the males fell when he was running. Both males returned to the funeral home while they're running. And then again, we see through video, teacher reemerges inside the school in panic and apparently calls 911. 911 call at 11:30. There was a crash, man with a gun. 11:31, the suspect reaches last row of vehicles in the school parking lot. 11:31, the suspect shooting began at the school while patrol vehicles got to the funeral home. I'll point out where it is. Crashed vehicles over here. Suspect was hiding behind a vehicle, started walking down and shooting into the classroom. There was discussion early on. ISD, Consolidated ISD for Uvalde, had officer, was a resource officer and had confronted the subject. That did not happen, as R.D. Escalon talked about yesterday. It was certainly stated in preliminary interviews, but often these preliminary interviews and a cursory walkthrough doesn't reveal the type of information, and certainly, police officers, like anyone else, under stress, sometimes witnesses get it wrong. But the bottom line is that officer was not on scene, not on campus, but had heard the 911 call with a man with a gun, drove immediately to the area, sped to what he thought was the man with a gun, to the back of the school, what turned out to be a teacher, and not the suspect. In doing so, he drove right by the suspect, who was hunkered down behind a vehicle, where he began shooting at the school. At 11:31, the suspect shooting in between the vehicle is when it began, while patrol vehicle gets to the funeral home. Multiple shots are fired outside the school at 11:31. Patrol car accelerates into the parking lot, drives by the shooter. That's exactly what I was talking about. That was the ISD officer at that time. He passes and then leaves the camera view. There's multiple shots fired at the school at 11:32, at 11:32:27, 11:32:36. At 11:33 is when the suspect entered the school at the door that I'm pointing to now. At 11:33, the suspect begins shooting into room 111 or 112. It's not possible to determine from the video angle that we have at this point in time. We do know this, that he shot more than 100 rounds based on the audio evidence at that time, at least 100 rounds. He entered at 11:33, or 11:33, he started shooting in the classrooms, 111 and 112. And 11:35, 3 police officers entered the same door as the suspect entered. All 3 of those police officers worked for the Uvalde Police Department. They were later followed by another 4, a team of Uvalde police officers, 3, and also a county deputy sheriff. So a total of 7 officers were on the scene. The 3 initial police officers that arrived went directly to the door, and 2 received grazing wounds at that time from the suspect while the door was closed. At 11:37, there was more gunfire. Another 16 rounds was fired at 11:37. 1 at 11:37 and 16 seconds, 11:38, 11:40, 11:44. At 11:51, a police sergeant and USB agents started to arrive. At 12:03, officers continued to arrive in the hallway, and there were as many as 19 officers at that time in that hallway. At 12:15, we know that BORTAC members arrived. Not the entire BORTAC, but members of BORTAC, along with Shields. At 12:21, the suspect fired again was believed to be at the door. At 11:21, law enforcement moved down the hallway. At 11:50, they breached the door using keys that they're able to get from the janitor because both doors were locked. Though both of the classrooms that he shot into were locked when officers arrived. They killed the suspect at that time. And now I'd like to go over the 911 timeline. Which I warn you is not. It's better that I read it than you listen to it. The caller identified, I'll not say her name, but she was in room 112, called 911 at 12:03. The duration of the call was 1 minute and 23 seconds. She identified herself and whispered she's in room 112. At 12:10, she called back in room 12, advised her multiple dead. 12:13, again she called on the phone. Again at 12:16, she's called back and said there was 8 to 9 students alive. At 12:19, the 911 call was made, and another person in room 111 called. I will not say her name. She hung up when another student told her to hang up. At 12:21, you could hear over the 911 call that 3 shots were fired. At 12:36, 911 call, it lasted for 21 seconds. The initial caller called back, student, child, called back, was told to stay on the line and be very quiet. She told 911 that he shot the door. At approximately 12:43 and 12:47, she asked 911 to please send the police now. At 12:46, she said that she could hear the police next door. At 12:50, shots are fired. They can be heard over the 911 call. And at 12:51 is very loud and sounds like the officers are moving children out of the room. At that time, the first child that called was outside before the call cuts off. Additional information that we have is that there are 58 total magazines at the school related to the crime scene. 11 of those magazines were inside the school. 3 were on the suspect's body. 2 in room 112, 6 inside room 111. 5 were on the ground, 1 was in the rifle. There were 32 magazines outside the school, but on school property. 1 just outside the school building and 31 in the suspect's backpack that he did not take into the classrooms with him. There was 15 magazines at the crash site. There were 2 magazines at the suspect's residence for a total of 60 magazines. He had purchased and had a total of 1,657 total rounds of ammunition. 315 of those rounds were inside the school. 142 of those were spent cartridges. 173 were live rounds. 922 were outside of the school, but on school property. 22 of those were spent cartridges. 900 were live rounds. 422 were at the crash site. 22 were spent cartridges. 420 of those were live rounds. There's 35 spent law enforcement cartridges total in the school. 8 of those were in the hallway. 27 were inside the classroom. 111 where the suspect was killed. I mentioned that I was going to go over quickly my digital timeline. One thing we talked about early, and I want to correct something that was said early on in the investigation, is that he posted, on Facebook publicly that he was going to kill that he was going to shoot his grandmother. And secondly, after that he he had shot her, and then third that he was going to go shoot up a school. That did not happen. It was actually on a message. It was a Facebook application, messenger application to somebody else that he had a conversation with. We know that through his digital media footprint, and I'll just do by date time. And Ramos asked his sister to help him buy a gun. She flatly refused. That was in September of 21. I'll avoid some of these and get to he had Instagram, a 4-group chat, and it was discussed that Ramos being a school shooter. That was on February 28th of 2022. On March 1st of 2022, there was an Instagram he had with 4 people. It was a chat. He discussed him buying a gun. On March 3rd, 2022, there's another 4-person chat. Quotations, word on the street is you are buying a gun. Ramos replied, just bought something. RN. On March 14th, and there was an Instagram posting by the subject, in quotations, 10 more days. A user replied, are you going to shoot up school or something? The subject replied, no, and stop asking dumb questions and you'll see. I know you have many questions, and I've agreed to stay as long as we can to answer as many of those questions that we can. If I can't answer it because we don't know definitively right now, I'll simply say that. And it continues to be a preliminary investigation. There's, literally, certainly over hundreds of interviews that have been conducted, will continue to be conducted, and there's thousands of leads that are being pursued, not consecutively, but concurrently. And thanks to our federal and local partners, and I do want to mention behind me, we've got the FBI Special Agent in charge. We also have an ATF Special Agent in charge, or ASAC, and of course, who else? What I got behind? Okay, but Texas Rangers, if there's any specifics that I haven't covered that I might need their particular support on. I do want to cover one thing quickly, though, before I go to questions, and that's some of the questions that we have already received. And one of those is going around now that in fact, the subject had been one of the 2 arrested by the Texas Rangers and the local police back in 2018. That's not the case. He was not one of the individuals. In fact, we have found no links, associations, and relationships in that investigation. Clearly, it was a threat. It was back in 2018. The 2 juveniles were charged with attempted or conspiracy to commit capital murder. There's no question that we thought, and we had evidence, and certainly the district attorney agreed, that these juveniles, one 13, one 14 years old, was a threat to Uvalde. And there was a discussion at that time, even the senior year of the one that was 14 years old, which would make it 2022. However, that was not the subject. Questions?
Your answers. Okay. Tony's going to translate in Spanish.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, one thing I want to say. One thing I failed to say is that when we're done, we have Tony Peña with us. He's going to translate into Spanish. Okay, what the answers and the questions are afterwards.
Thank you for doing this, and I do hope you stay here and take as many questions as possible. You say there were 19 officers gathered in the hallway or somewhere. What efforts were made to try and break through that door you say was locked? What efforts were the officers making to try and break through either that door or another door, get inside that classroom?
None at that time.
Why?
The on-scene commander at the time believed that it had transitioned from an active shooter to a barricaded subject.
Sir, you have people who are alive, children who are calling 911 saying, please send the police. They are alive in that classroom. There are lives that are at risk.
Hey, we're well aware of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Why was not to go in and rescue these children?
Again, you know, the on-scene commander considered it a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, you know, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk, and it was, in fact, still an active shooter situation and not a barricaded subject.
Sir, why was this more bad? Draw back up. So to understand that there were 911 calls coming in from 12:10, right? And the suspect was taken out at 12:50. 40 minutes during which, sorry, I'm tether here. Yeah. There was a 40-minute time span from these 911 calls coming in, right? And you probably have dispatchers relaying information to officers on the scene, telling them, hey, there are children in that classroom, they're still being shot right now, there's no being alive. How come the decision wasn't made? Whatever assets go on hand. Thank you.
The question simply is this: there was a 40-minute gap. And if the 911 operators were aware that children were alive in that classroom, why weren't officers notified of that? And if that's the case, why didn't they take action? That's the question. And again, I'll go back to the answer for right now, is that it was considered, okay? The decision was made on the scene. I wasn't there, but at the same point in time, you know, a decision was made that this was a barricaded subject situation. There was time to retrieve the keys and wait for a tactical team with the equipment to go ahead and breach the door and take on the subject at that point. That was the decision, that was the thought process at that particular point in time. What?
What can you tell parents that were here waiting and asking for the police to go in? Did you have an apology for them?
And there was 19, like I said, there was 19 officers in there. In fact, there was plenty of officers to do whatever needed to be done, with one exception, is that the incident commander inside believed they needed more equipment and more officers to do a tactical breach at that point. That's why BORTAC was requested on the scene. As soon as they were there, they executed a search, or at least a dynamic entry, and went in. And of course, that was not till 12. That was not till 12:57. With the benefit of hindsight. Hey, stand by. Hey, stand by. Hey, stand by. Right? I got it. Okay. Hey, from the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision. Period. There's no excuse for that. But again, I wasn't there. But I'm just telling you, from what we know, we believe there should have been an entry at that as soon as you can. Hey, when there's an active shooter, the rules change. It's no longer okay. It's no longer a barricaded subject. You don't have time. You don't worry about outer perimeters. And by the way, Texas embraces active shooter training, active shooter certification, and that doctrine requires officers. We don't care what agency you're from. You don't have to have a leader on the scene. Every officer lines up, stacks up, goes and finds where those rounds are being fired at, and keeps shooting until the subject is dead. Period.
Right here. Why was the decision made?
What is your message for the parents?
Obviously, countries south of the border, it's very difficult to understand how the most powerful nations of the world, the citizens have access to high-end weapons, and this is happening over and over and over again, and now getting to those weapons. I don't mean to want the time for you guys to answer the expert questions, please. How do you keep this from happening again in the communities of Texas? And second, how did a 18-year-old kid that works at a Wendy's wage can buy a $5,000 weapon?
Well, answer the last. He used a debit card first, but to your point, it's very expensive, and a debit card is not a credit card. It means he had money in the bank. So why and how is being looked at right now. And I'll tell you this, thousands of more leads are being looked at right now because we haven't answered all the questions. We haven't gotten into the why. Okay, we know the individual was also into cyber gaming in that regard, and group gaming in that regard. So we've got a lot of questions are out there, and we're seeking answers, but we've got an obligation. We'll continue to update you when we find something out. Hey,
Mendoza from VOA News. I have two questions. The first one is being said that Border Patrol had the special team on site and the local police did not allow them to go into the building. Can you elaborate why that was?
The Border Patrol agents, the BORTAC agents that were in the building did line up. They're part of the 19 that I talked about, and the entry team, ultimately the entry team that went in. But I can tell you that they were told, just as any other officer was told, and others, even command staff that came on board, is that the incident commander at the time it's believed that in fact it was a barricaded subject, that we had time, there was no kids at risk.
You mentioned that in Instagram you guys talked about having chats and group chats and talking to people. Why wasn't he on any radar? Nobody.
I wish he was. Because there's no question. And I'll say this right now. And every time we have one of these, and there's copycats, okay? And we need the public, just like we did back in 2018. That was a public, okay? They came forward that we got 2 people that are about to shoot up a school or planned to shoot a school. It's imperative on the public, when you get something, just because the guy sounds like he's a nut, he may be a nut. But just because it sounds like, well, impossible to do, he may be intended to do, as I read the timeline based upon the chats that he had. So we need everyone, when we have a threat to life like that, to take it seriously and report it, because ultimately this is tragic. What do you tell the parents of 19 kids, or the families of two teachers?
Yes, sir. Morgan Chesky, NBC News. You said you wanted to wait for tactical gear. By 12:15, you had at least 15 officers and shields on scene.
Yeah.
Yet you did not reach the door until 12:50.
Hey, like I've said it before, is that, well, first of all, when it comes to an active shooter, you don't have to wait on tactical gear. Plain and simple, you've got an obligation. What I know now, okay, absolutely.
As you hear them try to explain why they didn't go inside and help children, them children are helpless in that situation. It's unfortunate that law enforcement, the people that's put there to protect, failed to do so with everything on the line. At some point, your plans got to go out the window, number one. Number two, words are important. And understanding those words are important. So we'll deal with a little bit of what he said. First, I want to instantly deal with him saying that the reason they didn't enter the building is because the situation went from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. And while I know that's in the handbook somewhere and easy for them to pick at and pick to say, and it sounds like a well put together phrase, I find flaw in it. And the flaw I find in it is that you were dealing in that time with both those circumstances. So we do agree that the circumstances did evolve, but just not in the same way. You think that it went from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. I think it went from an active shooter to an active shooter with a barricaded subject. So the active shooter part didn't go away because he was still killing children. So that's number one. Number two, the question I have is the lady that left the door open. I noticed they don't say the name. I wonder, was she one of the people that ended up getting shot, or did she get away? Did she leave the door open and get away? That's something I would like to know. And they don't love your kids like you love your kids. They don't love your kids like we love our kids. As you couldn't stop one of those mothers. They had to try to arrest because you couldn't stop her from trying to get in there, even if it means her life. But they don't love your kids like you love your kids. That's why whatever laws they put in place, it don't apply to the people that it don't apply to. And you couldn't highlight more that they don't love your kids like you love your kids when you see everyone being told not to enter the building to save their own children, but officers being let in the building to save their children. Anyone in their right mind wants to go in and try to get their children, even if it means them dying in the process. You're dealing with some children. These children are helpless. One of them was pretty savvy. and she's gonna have to deal with a high level of trauma for the rest of her life. But she put blood on herself and just played dead the entire time. They were calling the police because they trust the police. They've been told if something happened, call the police. If such and such, call the police. If this and that, call the police. They've been told to trust the police. It was even said that they were told to make noise as they tried to identify where they were in the building, so they would make noise and it would cost someone their life each time because he would hear them making noise. If the dude is shooting, how did we take active shooter off of this? It kind of shows that the system in totality is just flawed, because they argue in the Senate and the Congress about these laws and about this and that. And I'm sure they have, he just spoke to the doctrine and what's in place, and all that was in place, and it still couldn't save children. It still could put you in a position to minimize the destruction with all that you have in place. They said people were there, police officers were there, SWAT tactical teams with tactical gear and shields, and they dealing with one 18-year-old guy with 19 officers, and they chose not to go in. They were there for 80 minutes. What we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen, is a system that is not in place for protection. It's in place for prosecution. And when we talk about our loved ones, we want to deal with protecting our loved ones, and all they want to do is prosecute them. They show up with 19 officers and they can't get in there. But they show up in a way to pick Young Thug up to neutralize him, and he's supposed to be some high powerful guy, but he ain't shooting nobody when they show up. But they show up to a school where children are dying, and they got reservations on entering the building. I find it funny that they say they show up to an active shooter situation, and because they're engaged with gunfire, it makes them hold off before they enter. I have a question for you. When you show up to a gun battle, what you expect to get? When you show up to a gun battle, you're going to get gunfire, Mr. Officer. That's why you got your gear and your bulletproof vest and your gun and this and that. The idea that you show up to an active shooter situation not expecting to be engaged by gunfire. I mean, what do you expect to get when you show up to a gunfight? A squabble? Did they think they were showing up for a squabble and they say it's gunfire? I don't be understanding what they saying. But I want people to understand why we had little to no faith in the system. Because if they needed to arrest me for some sort of crime I committed, they'll do that in a way that's effective and neutralizes everything. But involve themselves in someone actively shooting in the school, and it seems like we're dealing with a low-level operation. The idea that they were out there tasering or about to taser and arresting, and they were putting more emphasis on not letting people go in and get their children, and then they were on going in and helping the children. I just wish someone on that side can explain to me why they went in and got their children. Know what? They don't have to explain that to me. I understand why they didn't go in and let other people get their children or help people get their children. I would understand even if they said no one was there. 19 officers in the hallway and no one figures out, man, what they talking about. Kids is dying. We gonna hold off on the orders that tough to where we'll let kids die? And I'm supposed to trust that y'all show me what y'all will do when y'all get slightly confused. Y'all will bag up. For motherfuckers confuse them any little bit, they bag all the way up. Except when they in the ghetto. If they get confused in the ghetto, they just start shooting. Kill everybody if they confuse us. 80 minutes. At least 40 minutes on site with police. Even the feds were told not to go in. They made a decision after 30 minutes. F that, we going in. We got to kill this dude. He killing children. Like, it needs to be, I don't understand, man. Like, we live in a hell of a country. We live in a time where you got to find your way, man. What I think the next step of this is, and I'll be honest with y'all, what I think is going to happen in the future is the well-to-do and the rich are gonna start to send their kid to school with security. It's gonna start to be like the Yeezy. It's like, oh, John got that level 1 security. You know, you gotta send your kid to school with the level 3. I'm talking about private security. It's gonna be a regular thing. I think it'll become a luxury of some sort, because I don't see any laws being passed because they have to fight against the NRA, and they ain't budging. And they have influence on the political figures that's currently in position. So they're going to have trouble with that unless they spend money on making doors bulletproof and this and that at schools. You know, I'm not sure, but or putting the army at schools. I don't know. I don't think they're going to do that. What I think is going to happen is the well-to-do and the rich are going to start sending their kid to school with security. And then me, probably, or someone else will be able to create a company that starts to provide luxury security for your child at school. And it won't be right up on your child, but it kind of be there all day, kind of outside the building, maybe, you know, just kind of on, you know, and just watching out for your kid, you know, and it's gonna be a luxury of sort. I really believe that. The more I think about this shooting, the more I think about what happened and how the police failed to into the building in a way that was effective for those children inside. And we can't help but to think that because of them taking that approach, more children were killed. And so, I left from yesterday recording. I'm like, yo, man, step out, holler at my children. Like, yo, man, I was just thinking about that shooting again. And they young, so they really don't understand what I'm saying. You know, so I'm putting them down like, yo, man, it was a bad situation. Like 19 of 19 kids. And one of my kids, he's past that grade. So I'm like, you're even older than the kids that they done that to. And my other child is in the 4th grade. I'm like, bro, they were your age. And so, again, they're not really understanding exactly what I'm saying, but I need them to understand that I had these conversations with them on the come up. And of course, I'm going to stay there with them, next to them, giving them game. But what was interesting is that I'm telling them they calling the police, and it's just like dialing a number because the police are already there, but they're just not doing anything. I pointed out that they cited that, the situation changed from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. I disagree with that. I say the situation evolved from an active shooter to an active shooter with a barricaded subject. The active shooter part never subsided. So for me, the children reaching out to the police, but the police is already there. They just ain't doing nothing now. Kids are taught to trust the police. The police are supposed to come and help. And a lot of times they do. A lot of times they show up and they put a fire out, or they may are able to get someone out of a car and things like that. But when we deal with violence, response time is very, very important. And so I'm trying to explain to him, and my youngest, the one that's in 4th grade, he was like, not at my school. I'm like, nah, not at your school, man, and I'm interested in what he gonna say after that. And he said, not in my school, because if it was in my school, I would have ran up on the police or the security. I would have grabbed their taser. Then I'd have tried to run out the school. If I'd have seen somebody, I'd have tased them. I had to give him some game. That's the wrong approach. That work on Fortnite, I see where you're going with it. But it even made me realize the mindset of the children that he was in there dealing with. The level of cowardness that it took for him to do that in the first place, but to compound that, to not go to the school where you were quote unquote bullied at and go to an elementary school, it was just, I couldn't understand it. So I left talking about it, like, what could make him do that? Then I got to thinking. The only thing, and of course my mind isn't wrapped in a way where I can understand someone doing something like that, but for the sake of, again, I try to deal with information on this up there podcast rather than just salacious headlines and things like that. So when I try to evaluate what'll make him go to an elementary school, the only thing I can come up with is he went back to where it started for him. if there was a bullying thing happening, and you know, I asked somebody, I said, yo, why? I asked my old lady, I said, yo, why would he go to that school if he didn't attend that school? And then we came up with, maybe it was that age. Maybe it was that age when he started to feel rejected or not heard. I really don't know. It's just a lot. It's a lot to think about when you start to dive into, like, what'll make a dude go get a gun like that and go harm children. Listen, say what you will about gangs, thug, you know, young thug or big meat or whoever you want, Boosie or Loon or whoever you want to talk about or whatever background they may come from. Them ain't no kids dying on the ghetto's hands. Say whatever you would say. If it was the Crips or the Bloods or some gang or some record label or niggas out there and kids was being harmed inside their building, they was going in. But the police stood out there. So a lot of things can happen in the ghetto, especially with the eyes not watching, right? We know we deal with a high level of unwarranted touching in the ghetto too. There's something to be spoke about the women that's been involved with molestation and things like that. And so I don't want to act like that we don't have any issue, but in regards to outwardly us knowing that our children are dying inside of a school like that, and it's a bunch of niggas out there with firearms and shields and all that, they going in. And for me, man, especially mothers, like, I just couldn't understand, like, how do you go in and get your children and then leave these other children in there? I don't even blame you for going to get your children. I blame you for not getting the other children. You understand? I'm thinking about, like, how can you leave other children in there and really sleep at night? And they're being very secretive about names of people who done some of these things. I'm confused. There's a lot to be looked at, and we definitely continue to look into it. Hey, let me speak on this too really quick, because I did see a lot of retweets, and because again, I'm going viral on TikTok, YouTube, and doing very well on Instagram. I want to thank everybody. Round of applause for everybody that ever shares, does anything involving my shit. It's doing numbers, man, right? So I posted something last week about when my homeboys come talk to me about how they feeling. A couple of my homies came and spoke to me about how they feeling, and I was speaking about, yo, it's a reason they sent a sniper by itself, you know, hyper focus, I'm on a mission. I don't need too many people around them to get the job done. These was my exact words. Again, I get paid for talking. I think a lot of the critics, because they don't get paid to be critics, they don't have a certain level of attention to detail that I have when I'm speaking, when they're listening. And so we'll get to that. But before I move there, I want to say this about our culture not being in a position to amplify each other's voices or springboard anyone in our culture. I always say it's embarrassing. Earlier in the show, I spoke about the Nore tweet, and you've heard me echo it. You heard Charlemagne, Joe Budden, certain people echo that in our culture, we have a certain misunderstanding about what needs to happen. And so we're operating in a way where we're making each other our competition, when we need to understand our culture is battling for the market share. And so our minds are made up that Loon is the competition, instead of me and Loon get together and we need to get a show that's trying to get up there with Rogan. And so as you hear us speak about it, my catchphrase on it is always, the culture is for sale and they outpricing black people. A lot of times they don't even give black people an opportunity to compete in the market. Again, if there's a price tag on something, allow us an opportunity to meet that price tag to get that exclusive, especially if we play that game. Loon, I choose not to play that game. I choose to make my coins off of being able to have relevant conversations in the culture. So it's a different thing than I'm doing. I'm not sure if I said this earlier, but I heard some people say you can outgrow hip hop. And so therefore you want to spin off and do your David Lettermans and things like that. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. My stance on that is, and forever will be, is that if we're playing the game that they want to play and we start to marginalize ourselves as hip hop or black or music podcasts and things like that, we put ourselves in a cage. We want to be free birds because free birds have the ability to hunt. And so as long as we're in a situation where we're in that cage, we don't really get a peek at the real market share. We get a piece of the subsection of the subsection, although our section influences culture. A lot of times you hear on some of these top podcasts, at least I do, because I pay attention where they're talking about culture moments that come from our side. But they're talking about it from their perspective with the limited understanding that they have, right? So again, that ain't all they talking about, but the ability for that to be content says something. The ability for it to transition over to those people who are not looking for it in any way says something. But I don't think there's a situation where you can outgrow hip hop or where you should outgrow hip hop or where you should even view it in that way. My thinking is that you evolve with hip hop. So if you want it to look a certain way, let's provide the look that we're looking for and let's put the budget behind it that you think they got behind it. A lot of times you can trick these people with the set. As long as you put a lot of money in the set, they'll believe that it's a big production. Man ain't got no money in marketing. Man ain't got no money in nothing else but the set. And as long as the set look good, they think that that's a go. So again, understanding what's moving and what ain't moving. And I just wanted to, make one more swing at that. Just understanding that, like, don't outgrow us. Don't outgrow hip hop. How you gonna outgrow your people? You know what I'm saying? Like, in regards to the roots of it, you may not indulge in the same way, but you come from this tree. Continue to water the soil. I'm telling you for sure. Ask OJ, ask all of them, ask Cosby. They sending you back to the when you get through. When they break you all the way down, they send you back to the. And 9 times out of 10 is forgiven. So they allow, they'll accept you back. And so I just wanted to make that point. Now let me clear this up. Again, last week, I said something about being hyper-focused, and there was a larger message in that for my fans and the people that support me. I know y'all got the message, but there's people who are online who see my clips and they can't wait to identify an imperfect individual. I want to be clear to those people that I lead as imperfect. I lead as being in Bluetooth mode in which I'm trying to discover things. I'm never in an arrogant state, although I'm braggadocious. Although I have to prioritize how I insert entertainment into the podcast and have that run concurrent with information. So sometimes they deal with the theatrics of me doing this and saying that, and they're involved with the limited understanding that they have of who I am as an individual. Last week, I dropped a clip that went viral. The clip I was speaking about, Loon, you got to be hyper-focused. Sometimes you hyper-focus, the connection is off with some of my homies because, sometimes when they come to me, they tell me how they feel. They telling me how they feeling about things. And I'm always trying to tell them what I've been doing, meaning that I'm working and they whining. And of course, I'm freestyling when I'm doing this. I'm just giving the game to the coach. And so I proceeded to say, there's a reason they sent a sniper by itself. He don't need too many people around him to get the job done. This is what I said verbatim. And I started to see a wave of people come up under that post and say certain things. And the number one thing they would say is, bro, he was just venting to you. Bro, that was kind of insensitive of you. They were saying, bro, and this is thousands of people loved it. Let's be clear. I just want to clear up things that's misunderstood in regards to me and what I'm speaking about and providing the culture with, right? So again, when there's a misunderstanding that I want to clear up, I'm always try to do so. So again, they were saying things to me and they would make a point because they always, number one, I'm freestyling. So they always looking to try to find out, hey, what that a little analogy you done, what was a flaw in that, or how didn't it make sense? And a lot of times they can't really point anything out because I'm dealing with information, but they try to tell me this. Bro, a sniper ain't by itself, he got a spotter. A sniper ain't by itself, he got this person and that person. And I address that because, again, I make all my money from talking. So I'm not saying things that don't have any merit surrounded by it. When they said that, I'm not typing anything. I get paid to do a podcast, so I'd rather speak about things. When they said that, the first thing I said is, yeah, you're right. Number one, what I said was he don't need too many people around him. So that X's out me saying that I have to be alone to get it done. I said clear out, not that I'm alone. We draw up a plan. Let me get it done. That's number one. Number two, when you mention the spotter and you mention these other people that's on the journey with the sniper, you forgot to mention that they on the same mission. They got the same interest. So they ain't talking about, their girlfriend leaving them or whatever the situation may be. And I understand venting. I understand that we have to communicate with each other, but not when the house on fire. I always tell, like I had to tell women, like certain times it ain't the time to talk about that. I understand it don't feel good, but we got to go work out. I understand that you don't want to walk, but that's the only way we can get there. Let's do less talking. Let's talk about it on the walk. But let's be moving while we talking, though. Because what I know in our culture, we'll fall victim to just talking. And I can't be one of them people that's falling victim to falling in that hole where you just talking. Every day you wake up, you just running around talking. You ain't doing nothing. Nah, that ain't. So again, I have to reject the notion of pity parties. Not because I don't care about what my brother think, it's because it's ineffective to the goal that we got in place. What's fucked up is it's unfortunate for him and me that we in them circumstances where we don't have time to talk because the house on fire. They getting rich out there without us. They figuring shit out there without us. I talk about how I felt. I'm sorry, not right now. But maybe I'm speaking from a position of my people depend on me. So I'm a boss of the family. So sometimes when I'm talking as the boss of the family, and not the little boy of the family. A lot of y'all receiving what I'm saying as the boss of the family as the little boy of the family. So you don't understand that everything that's moving is moving on your watch. So you don't understand that we don't got time for that. We got to put our heels in the ground. These folk depending on us to get their company going. These folk depending on us to keep shit moving. Unfortunate for me and you, I wasn't born like that. I wasn't born with no silver spoon. Them same people will see they favorite player in the NBA finals down 5 points, miss a shot, and go over there and get in his feelings, and they'll scream at the TV. You got to get back in the game, man. You still got a chance. Why is you? But I'm in real life telling that, hey, yo, look like you walking, you breathing, look like you doing all right. Let's get it going, baby. Ain't no sense us doing that. She left you. Boy, I know that hurt, boy. That hurt like a motherfucker. Let's work and talk about that, though. But let's not fall in that ditch over there. They got ditches laying around what niggas done fell in them just talking. See, sometimes I run past some of these niggas doing YouTube and some of these niggas doing these little shows. I know, ooh, he done fell in the ditch. He just talking now. When I say just talking, ain't no action on nothing he talking about. He just talking. He wanted him. So, again, I'm trying to tell my niggas don't fall in them ditches, and I ain't trying to fall in one. So don't bring me around, where you ain't trying to do nothing and you just talking now. If a nigga working hard in the motherfucker, he can complain a little bit. Yeah, old nigga working hard can do a little complaining. But ain't no nigga down 40 points got no business. You understand me? Someone complaining. You down 40. You need to figure out how to score right now. And that's all I'm saying. Because in my family, and usually with black men, the family depending on you. The family usually depending on the black man. So how the hell we gonna be somewhat sitting around the campfire talking and emotional about we ain't got nothing? Not Loon. Not on my watch. But again, I'm on the side of expression. I'm on the side of expression, just not at the expense of the expectations. But again, if we can do it simultaneously, if you getting a whole bunch of work done and you whining, I'm gonna let you stay in that room by yourself whining, but I ain't gonna say a word, cause you still productive. And unfortunately for us, we were born poor. We don't have no choice but to be productive. We don't have no choice but to bear labor. Nigga, our family got to bear witness. We got to bear labor. And that's why I'm telling you we don't have time for the talking, homie. And so the time I have left, I got to teach my children, love my woman, love my mother, love my children, and define my legacy. Ain't nowhere in the world I got time to be sitting around. Again, I'm just telling you, I'm trying to avoid the ditch is falling in where they just done end up talking. You ever seen they be in the hood? He get him a bill and he can sit out there all day and just be talking. He ain't done nothing all day. I can't do that. And so I'm hyper afraid of that because I know it's prevalent where I'm from. I see it. It happens a lot. So when I see you come around me and not sad about something, but you are wobbling in the sorrow. And if that speaks to your mental health, I encourage you to go get the help, but not at the expense of what it is. Now, if I'm financially in a place to help you, I'll help you. But right now, we don't have that luxury. We got our feet on the ground, and I have to continue to try to do what's right for everybody that's depending on me. I encourage people to get some help, talk about things, certain things like that. But I wasn't speaking about someone saying that they want to hurt themselves or something like that. I'm talking about excuses. And I'm a man. I don't care how anyone feel with how I feel about excuses and a lie. I always tell you can't tell me how to feel about a lie or an excuse. Not me when I'm doing everything in the world to make sure it's happening. Not me. Somebody'll listen to it, just not me, because I got my shit in the, I'm not listening to it. Not me. I can't. I put too much into what I'm doing to listen to a nigga tell me why he can't get it done. You understand? That's just part of the culture. That's part of the game. So I wanted to respond to people who were saying those things. Let's talk about the Gervontae Davis and Romero fight. It just happened last night, man. And when I tell you, I was looking forward to this fight. I was explaining to some of my relatives and loved ones that, you know, I don't spend money on a lot of things because I'm in grind mode and so many other things I got going on. But one thing I'll drop that check on is front row tickets to that boxing. I really with boxing. I grew up boxing. I really, really enjoy boxing. And when I got to thinking about it, man, coming up, I'm like, boxing is so barbaric. When I watch it, my hands sweat. Like I'm really like UFC and boxing. My hands are sweating and I'm feeling a certain way. I'm just like, yo, they getting down. You know, you watch the feet, you watch the jab, you watch certain things, right? And you knowing what you're looking at, and it's so interesting. But this dude, Rolling Romero, was much bigger than Gervontae, so it had me in a weird place. I knew he was an awkward fighter, right? And so when you deal with an awkward fighter, the first thing you say is, okay, the math ain't mathing. Because what they tell you is, in boxing, is that if this foot is like this, he probably gonna do this. If he comes this way, he's probably doing this, right? And so when you're dealing with an awkward fighter, you're dealing with an individual that could be standing this way and throw some shit that ain't even possible according to the trainer. Now, it could be possible, but not effective. Then you take an awkward dude and put strength with that. I was like, oh my goodness. Now, Gervontae is a great fight. I got a lot of respect for what he do. I think he'll fight anybody. But even in the ring, I was like, oh, he's smaller than this dude. But then when they weighed in, I thought the weight would be really off. It was just 133 and 134. So I was like, oh, he ain't as big as I thought, but he seems stronger. He definitely is taller, but he seems stronger or something. And someone was asking me, like, what's the importance of this fight? And I was like, Well, people are saying, and of course all this is alleged, I don't know it to be the case, but people are saying that there seems to be some kind of feud with Gervontae and Floyd. And so they wanted him to take this fight because of the matchup. And if anybody knows anything about matchups, it's someone like Floyd or people that's been in the game that long. And so someone, because I was always thinking like, he don't got but 13 fights, 12, 13, 14 fights. How you get a title pay-per-view shot? That ain't usually how that work. And so they were trying to say, and Gervontae has alluded to it and came out and took it back, that there was some kind of situation between him and Floyd because there was his last fight with Floyd. If I had to wonder and guess and just use my mind to just imagine something that I don't know to be true, and people ask me like, why would that be the case? Because I get into conversations like, why would Floyd want to match him up with somebody that is stronger than him and fights awkward that may can knock him out at any moment in the fight? If anybody knows how important it is to have the zero on the other side of your record, it's Floyd Mayweather. Because Floyd's been able to keep the goose egg on the other side, right? The 48-0, the 50-0, the 51-0. Because the O's been at the other side, a lot of O's has been coming in the bank account. There was no one close to Floyd. He beat the record, right? And I think Marciano is right under him. But after that, you had Deontay Wilder coming up, and he lost twice to the same guy. That's done in regards to legacy talk. Gervontae may have a shot because it's a matchup thing from here on out. Now when you become the A side and you become the draw, now you have to, it becomes more than just boxing. Now it becomes, who do I fight? When do I fight him? What's the matchup? You know, now what I do know about Floyd, what he done, and I explained this to somebody, Floyd never showed weakness. Floyd knew certain little tricks, like if you have your mouth open, you're breathing hard, right? So in boxing, if you see someone with their mouth open, see they start mouth closed, but 9th round, they sitting over there with their mouth open. They may still be jabbing, might got something still on it, but they mouth open, they tied. Floyd never showed that. He never took an extra second on the bench. He would always get right up, get at it to show you that you ain't doing nothing. I'm not affected by this. I'm still tip-top shape going into the 11th round. So he will he's a dangerous mind game guy, you know, as well as the best or one of the best boxers ever to get in the ring, you know, arguably the best, especially dealing with that weight. But I also was thinking like, this matchup is it's a funny situation for Gervontae. And I seen on Gervontae that he knew that. When I seen him come out, I said, okay, he doesn't seem to be himself. Number one, he don't got nobody with him. He usually have somebody come out with him, rappers rapping with him. He don't got that. But he's at hometown hero. But he didn't give me that fierce look that I was looking for. And that other dude come out giving me a lot of energy. And I'm like, see, he a problem. See, I done fought one of them ones that ain't stopping. You see, so at the beginning of the fight, I'm like, all right, let's see what's happening. And dude come out and he's swinging so hard and caught Gervontae. And I said, oh, Gervontae know he dealing with some power. That's why it ain't no, see, because he a brawl. Gervontae will get in there and he'll swap him out with you. Not with this guy, because this guy was strong. So he was staying away from him. And what that let me know was, his skill set had evolved, speaking about Gervontae Davis, because that's a different thing from just brawling. That's going on defense. He only threw 28 punches the whole fight. He ended up knocking the guy out. But I'm just dealing with prior to that and how I felt coming up into that 6th round. I will say this. At the end of the 1st round, because Romero did promise a knockout at the end of the 1st round, I didn't see that confidence in him. Romero, it came back, but it had died for a second. It looked like he was just out there for a second. The lights and shit might have got to him, and Gervontae was catching him with little shit and moving around on him, and it's like it had got to him. But by the 3rd round, I was sweating. All my hands were sweating because I was like, Gervontae done caught him, but he done caught him a few times, and it seemed to be stinging him. It seemed to be, I'm like, yo, man, what's going on? I'm I'm starting to get spooked for Gervontae, because I'm like, man, this dude seemed to be muscling him a little bit. And then I seen Gervontae talk to somebody in the front row, because they was even telling him, bro, you got to push, bro. He was like, no, not yet. When I seen him talking in the front row, I'm like, what's going on? I didn't know what was going on. And then he threw a punch and said, ouch, or something. He said something, damn, or something. And I said, damn, did he hurt his hand? Come to find out he didn't. But in that moment, I was thinking, did he hurt his hand? What was that? Like, something had happened. But he came right back and handled it business. What I want to do is take a look at that knockout punch over on Showtime Sports in the Gervontae Davis-Rolly Romero fight that ended in the 6th round. We're going to deal with looking at exactly what took place, and we'll deal with some information after that. Again, man, you proud to see somebody like Gervontae, man, go through something like that and still pull it off. Like I said, this dude had a certain amount of weight or a certain amount of strength clearly over him, man. He only threw 25 punches. Something interesting happened. We want to watch Gervontae Davis speak after, which is his post-fight interview, in which he spoke to the ring announcer, legendary ring announcer. We want to view what happened, and we want to come back with some game. But let me say this too. I was thinking, even though dude came out with so much aggression and seemed like he had so much energy, I even thought about people like Mike Tyson and things like that. And Gervontae Davis knew this. If you can make it out of them first 3-4 rounds with them guys, all right, now you in good hands. Because a lot of them guys bank on getting this out the way. And that longer fight starts to frustrate them, because usually they catch you a few times and you don't fall, and it starts to get to the guys and they start to make decisions outside of the game plan. So if you can just get outside of them 2nd, 3rd rounds with some of them guys and bring them into deep water, that's when you start the game plan breakdown. And not saying dude is nowhere near skilled as Mike Tyson is. I'm just saying, with that kind of fighter that has the ability to really get you out of there quickly, you want to bring him into deep water a little bit, make him earn that knockout. Don't get in there and swap with him like that. Make him earn that knockout. But let's listen to what the dude said, man, a ring announcer after the fight. In my opinion, we'll deal with the information. Let's listen to it. Now, let me explain a few things before we move any further. In my opinion, Gervontae Davis is a pure soul, so he's up there just giving the game out like he's talking to the homeboy. But in my opinion, he made a mistake when he let a little information out about himself that if I was him, I wouldn't have let out. He said, I'm a kind of person that panic, and I was in here and I was talking to try to shake it off. I had to loosen up. I was kind of cold. What that means is the pressure kind of got to him. Or the not knowing. This dude, again, the math ain't math. And when his feet move this way, he ain't throwing the punch that they called for. Something's up with, like, this is a different thing I'm fighting. This dude is, right? So I think they kind of started to bother him and play with his mind, like, and he's strong. Boom. Ooh, he kind of strong. Ooh. And the math ain't mathing, right? So, again, I think it just placed him in a deficit in regards to getting his mojo going. And so if it was me, I wouldn't have put that out, because now fighters know, try to get in his head, make him uncomfortable, see if you can get some pressure on him, because he said he'll panic, make him panic. I wouldn't have never said that. You never let your weakness out. You tell your coaches and shit that you like, yo, man, I was slick, kind of slick, I'll panic. I had to try to, but on the outside like that, I don't think with that much money at risk, I don't think that you say that. But let's listen to a little bit more. I have an extreme problem with that. Number one, let me say this. I want to say RIP to anyone that's been affected by gun violence over the last few weeks. There's been some horrific events happening in the United States, but there's some horrific conditions in the United States as well. Those two conversations are separate from the one that we're having right now. As you see that we're dealing with an announcer and a very legendary guy. I've seen him for years in that position. You see, they can't wait to misrepresent what it is we say, and I learned something from Gervontae right there just to move on. Because when you engage with it and try to explain culture, man, I didn't mean it like that. Hold up, man. Now, in our culture, when we say that, what we mean is we ain't scared. We ain't running from nobody. When you try to do that, sometimes you set yourself back. Now that engagement blows up bigger than even the fight. So I learned in that moment from Gervontae to move on. Just move to the next thing. Clearly, he's trying something right there. What was that? But let's rewind. Not even 2 minutes before that. You dealing with Gervontae Davis, who just came off a fight selling 20,000 tickets for the company that you represent, mister. So you're standing there with a microphone in a suit. You ain't did no sweating or selling tickets. The audacity of you to misrepresent what he was saying in that moment. I need black people to understand what they'll do with our culture. Gervontae Davis was good enough to sell 20,000 tickets at a certain number that we know ain't cheap. What, 100,000, 200,000, what, how many pay-per-views that we know ain't cheap? But when I talk my slang, it's an issue. Not even 2 minutes prior to that, he thanked God. He thanked Floyd. He thanked Showtime. He thanked everybody involved, the humble spirit. The guy that's been talking about him the whole time. I hope he's okay. Maybe he can fight again. He was as humble as he know how to be in that moment. Now here you are working for the company that I just funded everything that you looking at. You got to come ask me a question. Then you put me in a position. I didn't say nothing about no other fighter. You put the fighters on the list. You said, hey, yo, we got such and such here, such and such here. Now what does that do to a fighter? That means it's time to sell a fight. Now they got to deal with my vernacular. Okay, so now I just made them 30, 40. I just made however many million a night. They already trying to set me up to make them another 300-400 million. Boy, they working the shit out of me. So now they putting me on the spot again for the nigga. So now I got to say something razzle dazzle. And what I say, you want it. It's a very such and such time. We definitely understand that. That ain't what that meant. You dealing with culture. The same thing that got all these seats sold. That's what culture is. The metaphors of it. That's the problem we having now with Young Thug and them using lyrics. That we use metaphors to explain things. Right? We use it. We creative. We crafty people, man. So we speak in a certain way, and we don't mean no harm, man. Come on, man. If anybody know about gun violence, it's us. That white dude ain't never been involved with nobody being killed on his watch or knowing nobody being right. So these dudes don't know what that's like. But the idea, number one, I did a great job tonight by filling everything up. They say ain't no seats for sale. Pay-per-view, doing tremendous numbers. All this is on my back. You put me in a position where I can't even celebrate the fight that I just won. You want to talk to me about the next thing y'all trying to set up. I can't even enjoy. I just fought a nigga bigger than me that probably could have knocked me out. I can't even enjoy that because y'all so ready to work me. You want to talk about the next one. Now you put me in a position to what I supposed to sell a fight. So here I come selling the fight. What you want me to say? I'm willing to box any guy that like, yo, bro, this is my vernacular. I come from the culture. This is my thing. We use metaphors. This how we get out. We wave it. We don't expect you to know you ain't got but one color suit. We don't expect you to really feel the vibrations of all this right here, but that's why these people here. You hear when he dropped that New York, you hear the crowd done that. That's what that's about. That's a part of that right there. You wouldn't understand it. But you've been locked in a beautiful position being able to ask questions to young up-and-coming black fighters that's making multi-millions of dollars, and I'm sure you make a pretty penny, but you got to be a little more in touch with understanding what's the driving force. And this is what I be telling y'all about the trick bag. You gonna ask me something working for the company that I just made millions of dollars for. You gonna ask me about another fight, and then the way I respond to it, you gonna step in and act and misrepresent. So you're implying something. My culture knew what I was saying. You're implying something when you say that, right? And so I need people to be in touch with the culture that's the driving force, dog. Ain't nobody that'll see such and such this ring announcer dude because he do the interviews at the end of the show. Ain't nobody there for that. You talking to the man that got the asses in the seats. And rather than let me enjoy my victory, you already working me again. And then got a problem with what I say because you don't know culture. Because you ain't in touch with culture. You know what I'm saying? No, man, y'all got to give us a little more respect in that. The idea that you think that we would say something that to offend some people that's been gunned down or killed is I just don't like that. And I wanted to speak on that because I feel as though it's my place to do so. And before we move on to the 600 Breezy and Charleston White, speaking of culture, we got to learn to stay true to us, man, because there's so much value in our own understanding. It's so much value in our own infrastructure. But sometimes we don't feed the horse. Sometimes we don't feed the animal. We got to know how to treat the people that know how to treat the people. You see what I'm saying? When we put ourselves in a situation to really capitalize on what it is we provide to society, to humanity, right? Because it's even bigger than just hip hop. And that's why I don't like the black media word or the hip hop commentator word, right? No, it's broadcaster, right? We ain't dealing with the hip hop commentary and all that, even though hip hop is our love and our specialty. But we know the wordsmith games y'all play. So we just ain't gonna adopt anything that could set us back or could have us misunderstood by the onlookers. So now don't call me a hip hop podcaster or something like that right now until I go get the 200-300 million. Then call me hip hop podcaster because it helped my brothers. But on the way up, I know the game you playing, so I gotta play it with you. Now don't call me that. I'm a broadcaster. I think we have a problem with being true to ourselves. And when I think about it, because I'm just thinking about it as I'm talking, I think it's because we're dealing with an evolving culture. And so when you have things at risk, right? So say you leave the hood and go off and get some money. When you come back to the hood, things have changed. If you indulge, you got something at risk. So that kind of separates you from being able to indulge without anything at risk. And once you become instrumental in other people's lifestyle and providing houses and jobs and things for other people, you tend to try to limit your situations where that's the case. And so sometimes, I don't know, it's almost like we outpace ourselves. And then when we deal with rappers or people that we ask interviews, because I tell y'all all the time, Loon, they don't hear from me because they think I'm not worthy of saying it. When I say, yo, they ain't coming on this up there podcast, man, I'm putting the game down. They be like, oh, he just wants somebody on there. It ain't that. We doing well and we gonna continue to do well. We have conversations with the culture. They love us and we love them. They can feel it. We passionate about it. We bleed it. It's nothing other than this that we would love to be doing. This is what we do. So they think they only viewing me as someone that needs the help, and that's the first mistake that they make. Anytime someone classifying you wrong, they done made a mistake. So their conversations with you can sometimes shed light on how they view you. But as people blow up, they tend to get away from the rap. They tend to get away from the hip hop. And then you got to think, we dealing with the first round of hip hop media, if you want to even call it that. Like all these guys here now is just like the first round. So it's a transition that need to be had. And again, you're also dealing with a very limited pool. So sometimes they can't pull from it. But the bigger problem is you're dealing with people that ain't true to themselves. Everybody holler black excellence hashtag. It's a hell of a hashtag to put on your picture once you already rich. Black excellence. See, some people think black excellence is because they rich and the other black people poor. That ain't what black excellence is. Black excellence is being proud to being black. It means the quality of being outstanding. So I'm an outstanding black, not a rich black. Yeah, I'm an outstanding, not a rich. You know what I mean? Now the money go with that. Yeah, usually when you're doing something outstanding, the money go with that. But a lot of people done hashtag black excellence and, put your brother on and I'm all about black this and black that. And they ain't giving no budget to no black people, especially on the come up. Everybody they look at already rich. That ain't helping nobody. That's helping the business. But I'm talking about helping people. When we talk about black excellence, we talking about outstanding blacks. And sometimes, unfortunately, we not dealing with that. We dealing with people that's hustling. And so the cultures for selling, they outpricing black people. I remember, or I know how I look at other cultures like Mexicans, no matter where they at, they dressing like a Mexican dress with the boots and certain little things, you know, the Texas Mexican attire or the Mexico attire that you would even see in Texas or in my city and other cities. Mexicans stay true to themselves. Even Africans, certain ethnicities, they stay true to themselves. And nothing rings more true when I say, yo, Loon, when we deal with what we be doing to just stay true to us. Like all that old Gucci and shit that we wear, I got it on now. All that shit we wear, that shit ain't us. Everything we doing, we really done adopted. And we really be doing it in spite of to say, oh, y'all made that high price Gucci shit because you thought niggas couldn't get it. I got it and I don't care nothing about it. A lot of times we doing that, we playing that game, and then other times we just like the quality and what it is. But what do niggas do to claim they culture? They done tricked us to thinking pulling up with the music, bumping and banging and the sagging is our culture. Nah, come on, man, you know better than that. That's why I'm kicking high level game. I need to be loud about that. That's a subsection of a subsection. Let's be honest with each other. I said, damn, I think everybody claim their ethnicity and their culture in a way that's visible and acceptable outside of us. They don't let us do it. It's offensive when we come in with a hat like this right here. And when OBJ want to wear a necklace under his jersey or an earring or want to get tattoos here and there, and it's viewed a certain way when we put our culture on Front Street. But we got to fight to stay true to ourselves. I remember going into lunchrooms, Mexican or people or a Mexican or a person from Afghanistan or a motherfucking African, they don't give a fuck who in the lunchroom. They gonna warm their food up. They ain't eating that fried chicken and shit you brought, nigga. They eating what they eat, where they from, with their hands or whatever. They staying true to where they come from. And that's a hard thing to do. And for me, I can't do nothing but respect it. But we gotta do that. We gotta do that in them buildings when them corporate people coming down saying, yo, you know, we gotta make them make exceptions. Yeah, this the lunchroom. We warming up our food. We warming up the food where we from. Look, man, I need to go sit down with somebody that's part of what I'm doing, but we need a high budget thing. Well, let's give them a budget to do it. Oh, so I ain't worth that? But we got to stand on that and stay true to ourselves. And in my opinion, we have trouble doing that. Let's talk about Charleston White and 600 Breezy. For those of you unaware, Charleston White and 600 Breezy had a run in because Charleston White has been online saying some disparaging things about King Von. 600 Breezy being someone that's part of that, I think, OTF family, or that he is from Chicago and was cool with King Von. And so some of the things that Charleston White has said, in my opinion, wouldn't warrant for a conversation from someone that calls themselves a friend or a brother of the people that is being said about. And you know, Charleston has been on my show. That's my guy. I don't wish harm on him, but I understand ramifications and I understand how some of those things make him play out. And I think he's fully aware of what may take place. He probably has firearms or has himself in some circumstances that he's prepared. Nonetheless, he's been noted to say certain things about King Von, like he was a demon and he was a devil. He did the devil work. And Lil Tim is a god and things like that. Lil Tim being the person that is responsible for King Von transition. And so he placed himself in the middle of those death things. And everybody knows, in my opinion, that's the wrong place to have a conversation about with that high level of emotion. But Charleston does that. That's been his thing. He's been consistent in his approach to these guys. And so seems like the internet has been waiting on him to get into a situation where he has to run into some of them people that he talks about. I see everybody kind of goes through that. I seen academics go through it. Certain people go through this thing where the audience is kind of waiting on you to run into them people that you be talking about to see how this thing works its way out. Right? Because you've been able to say some shocking things about some of the old people. Let's see how it plays out. And they seem to be dangerous people. So let's see what happens. So Charleston was out there, I think, for a movie or something. And there's a run-in with him and 600 Breezy. Let's take a look at the run-in and we'll come back.
So you ain't getting money off the interviews? Nah. You just heard you say
now you lying. Oh, you got that. I say it all the time. I'm lying to you. I say it all the time.
So as you see the run-in, and first let me deal with the internet. So a lot of blogs put out there that Charleston White was getting checked by 600 Breezy. They only put like 5 seconds out when he was like, yo, they're my people or something like that. And they ran with say, Charleston got checked. And all the blogs put that out there. Charleston didn't know he was being recorded. You know, he was being recorded from behind. But the circumstances, I was, you know, first of all, I'm watching Charleston and academics relationships. Charleston wants to be paid to go on academics. Academics finds it disrespectful that anyone wants to be paid to sit next to him. He thinks he's a tycoon in the space. Charleston ain't going for that. He's saying, pay me. Therefore, Ack has got in his feelings. Charleston don't know this yet, but they play a different game in the industry. So now Ack will never probably acknowledge it again unless it's something bad. That's the game he played. Wait around. He won't acknowledge it until it's something bad like that. You got checked, you make it to his page. All the game you done put down ain't never made it to his page. All the game I put down ain't gonna never make it to his page. But if something happened to me, he might put that up if it's beef. And that's the situation that him and Charleston is in. And it ain't beef. It's just that because he's outwardly been academics. Has outwardly been saying that if you charge me, niggas, fuck you. And it's up for you, nigga, on this side. And Charleston been sticking by, you got to pay for me to do the interview. So their relationship is funny. But other blogs was putting it out as well. But Charleston has a relationship with a few blogs, so he's able to send the long version video, which is what we just played, where it's a couple of minutes where it shows the back and forth. They made a mistake when they started talking with Charleston. They not equipped with the information to be able to see. It take high level game to get in there with Charleston and do that. Anytime you see, and I'll play the video and I'll narrate what I think. If you're watching, pay attention. We're gonna cut the volume down some. So this is where, number one, you see the space in between them, right? That laugh right there. 10 seconds in, he knew he was all right. 10 seconds in, he knew he was all right. Because been me and my partner, and we got a problem, ain't nobody laughing. We got you, buddy. Don't make no real fast move or nothing. You are that with you. Now one of you better not move too quick. We got you, and we finna take care of it. Now we just plotting on how we finna do it, cause you finna get sprung on in here. You know what I'm saying? But when he said whatever he said and nigga went to laughing, he instantly know I'm doing all right in here. Pay attention. See, he checking them around, see if them have been still faced like, nah, no, ain't no, it's dead energy in here about you. Ain't no laughing or nothing. So now what this does is identify who on who team. Cause a nigga gonna be laughing when I say something disrespectful to a nigga he with. If he with him like it, if they both got the understanding that this the little nigga that we got an issue with. Ain't nothing he's saying funny. We finna handle this. And so he can feel that it ain't finna be too much of nothing going on. See, the laughing is what let them know. Now it's over. When you done let them, see, another thing you gotta know again, but I won't even put that game out. Just pay attention to patterns, right? So again, when he starts to blow up, see, he's blowing himself up. You understand? Once he blow up, it's over. Now it's over for 600 Breezy. Now you probably won't get another word in because I got the crowd. Turning the crowd on him. Turning the crowd on him. Listen, take a high level mental jujitsu to come into a room and turn your own crowd against you, but that's what he just did.
We get him up. We get him up. No. The Wooded was for the revolution. We studied Larry Hoover. We studied Larry Hoover growing up. Broke in the revolution. We don't know about none of that. Anything that hurt, real blood, GD, BD, white folk, rap, or whoever against your people, man.
Turn everybody against him.
And I'm gonna die behind. I don't want to talk anymore.
So again, this just shows kind of what the altercation was. I want to listen to 600 Breezy respond and Charleston kind of explain the situation as well from his viewpoint, and then we'll give a little more game about it.
Yeah, you can't knock the little. Yeah, you can't. I salute the little. This is what I'm gonna say to him. Does anybody that caught himself being mad at the little? No, don't be mad at him, at the little nigga. You know, he called himself defending his homeboy honor. Yeah. You gotta respect any young man that defend his homeboy's honor. When I seen it on the internet, I said, "Oh man, they gonna do me like this? Oh man, y'all got me down here to play internet game with me, man. Get me down here and let 600 Breezy check me and treat me like a Rudy Poo. Oh, that's how y'all done me, huh? Oh man, I'm flying back today, man. I'm flying back today. They got me. Come on, Dewberry, pack your bag. Let's go. They done got us down here so this young can do us like this and treat a nigga like a weenie. Yeah, treat a nigga like a weenie." Yeah. They said, "No, man, we ain't like that, man. We just had the young." I told the young nigga he can approach you like a man and say what he say. You a man, ain't you? Yeah, I'm a man. Well, the young nigga approach you like a man, so y'all had to talk like a man, right? Yeah.
Okay, so that was Charleston when he first was out there. So this is what Charleston said he done. He said that after it happened, he chose to find someone in that neighborhood that did YouTube to blow their YouTube up and let them record him saying that he got checked. So he played into him being checked is what he's saying. All right, let's listen to 600 Breezy, what he said, and then we'll come back with a little game.
Dumb situation, cause it wasn't for no internet cloud or none of that weird ass. I'm woke though, so we can talk about it, cause I'm gonna keep it real. Cause on some 1,000, I respect that old Charleston White. Oh God, that old nigga tuck his tail or nothing. He stand for what he believe in. He talking about what he talking about. I don't agree with what he's saying, but you feel me? Like my whole point was the Von shit. He on some black empowerment shit. He on some, oh y'all killing black people and woo. My point was, all that, you know what I'm saying? You disrespecting my homie. You disrespecting the that we love and they took care of motherfuckers. Like, I seen that 3 times after that and all that. Like, I seen it 3 times after that and all that shit. It was a 10-minute, we had a 10-minute motherfucking argument for real. Like, But before I get to Charleston White too, bro. Come on, fam. What that say? Iowa Department of Corrections, right? When they say violation, February 22nd, 21, right? What the f did they do that shit, bro? It say I threatened 6 to kill 6'9", right? You feel me? You see how much time they try to give me for that shit, right? Like, come on, bro. I'm not a dummy, nigga. I'm not a goofy. I'm not a clown, nigga. I just went to jail for playing internet games with niggas. You think I'm finna play and do some weird shit with an old that's telling me to my face you gonna go to jail? You gonna go to jail. I just went to jail for saying, come on, bro. This real, like, come on. I can't make this up. I can't print this shit out of nothing, nigga. You clown, nigga, can't yell at yo. It's goofy, bro. So I'm glad I don't want them to post no clips of me threatening no old man. That man 100 years old. On BD. Like, that 100 years old, bro. If I just went to jail for threatening Tekashi 6'9", and he a federal informant, like, come on, bro. Like, y'all be expecting a nigga to crash out. I ain't expect to see Charleston White. I didn't know who Charleston White was. On LA, on Lenard Anderson, I didn't know who the fuck that nigga was, bro. Now, whole time, now we in Mississippi at the movie premiere and shit. Now, he come in and they get that, you know, that's Charleston White, ooh, 600 Breezy. What's up, black man? Happy old shit, he coming there. Now I'm looking like, damn, that name sound familiar. I've been seeing this nigga go viral and shit, man. Well, you know, so I stand on the porch. I stand on the porch for like 20, 30 minutes and listen to that interview he did where he was saying, Lil Tim did God's work or whatever. That shit blew me, bro. But he got his security with me. We got sheriffs there on the scene. We got important people coming in the city or whatever. So I walk in the crib like as a man, I can't sit around this nigga and not say nothing to this. So I walk in the crib. I get that, hey, I'm on some cool shit. I never yelled at this old, none of that. I never did none of that with the old. I'm not doing that with that. I know he gonna put the police on me. Telling me to my face, I'm putting the police on you. All right, cool. So I go and ask him, I'm like, what you got against Chicago niggas? He looked me in the face and like, shit. I ain't never met no Chicago niggas. And never in my life. I'm you meet one right now, and I'm BD. You feel me? And Von, my homie. So what's up with that shit, bro? Woo. Y'all killing black people. He stood on his shit. On God, that old nigga stood on this shit. He was on some revolutionary shit. Like, we don't do that in Texas. We don't kill black people. Knowing that's cap. Making it seem like in Texas they just killing white people. They on some black empowerment shit. But whatever the case was. So that's when he like, man, I'm ready to die behind this shit. We talking about the revolutionary shit. So that's when it got different from me. You know what? Hey, bro. See, the only reason I'm not gonna fuck you up in here or jump over this table and hit you in your security in y'all mouth is because my people flew you out here and I don't want to make it seem like they backdoored you and they doing bad business. I said, but when I see you again, it's gonna be a problem. Like, it's gonna be that. So I ain't gonna let that old. He went from that rah-rah shit to, this little ain't on no cool shit. He on some bullshit. Like, I just want to let you know, like, I see you again outside of this shit. Like, it's gonna be a problem.
So you hear 600 Breezy speak about the run-in. In my opinion, you know, he in a hard position, you know what I'm saying? Because he got to feed his family. And he just went to jail, I think, for his encounter with Tekashi 6'9". So, but that's what I'm saying. My whole thing be, you had to ask yourself, if that was King Von and the shoe was on the other foot, would King Von would have sprung on him? If you in your heart believe that, you got a spring on him. And that's unfortunate. But that's the game they in. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people try to come out and say that. But again, I also know don't go in the trick bag. So I'm trying to understand the other side as well. But again, your loved ones being dead and being disrespected, that's something that I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to Charleston speak about it a little bit and then we'll come back.
It was in somebody's house with a whole bunch of niggas deep off in the hood, and I ain't know one soul, not even 600 Breezy. When he was, I didn't even know him.
Yeah, what were you doing before that? What led you to that location?
I was booked by a movie producer. So when I get there, I get introduced to Breezy, and I ain't gonna say too much, cause we kind of like under contractual agreement, because in the future we go sit down and talk about this on the podcast. That video was never supposed to be leaked.
Right. So what are your thoughts as far as when that video leaks, and then you have to go back on your channel and put the actual, not the whole video, but you put the video out showing that it wasn't none of that, but you have to like control a narrative. Everybody getting out of hand.
Everybody was disappointed. Let me just say this. Everybody in Mississippi was disappointed. As soon as I end my live, I see this. And so I call and wake up the filmmaker and say, man, damn, man, because at this point, I know they didn't do it. I'm saying, man, he played me for an internet viral moment. He's like, man, what you talking about? So I sent him the video. They wasn't happy. I didn't know we was being recorded. I didn't know that was recorded. Oh, yeah. Now, we was deep off in the trenches, in the heart of these streets, with real live street. Anything could have went, and they would go keep it in the streets. But somebody leaked it to the internet. But let me just say this. It's a reason why the whole entire clip wouldn't release. Cause no, I'm down here standing on it. No, man, I'm down here standing on that shit, checking whatever is being brought to me. Nah, nigga, I don't give a damn about GDBD. I'm making it known down here. I don't give a about none of that, homie. I'm from Chicago. I don't care nothing about none of that. And guess what? Everything went how it was supposed to went. Cause in real life, I'm really a bad motherfucker in real life. If you catch me in real life and you bring what you think you go bring to me, you go get what he got.
So that was the encounter, man. Again, when you get to letting them perform, it's over with. So he whooped on them like that, man. And I don't know. I guess some people like, yo, I get it, 600. You ain't crashing out. But in the back of some of the people head that's probably on his side, they probably like, nah, that ain't posted. You feel me? But I'm glad he didn't. I don't want to see nothing happen to Charleston. But I think our culture, we got to start having conversations about things to bridge some of those gaps. What I found interesting about the situation is 600 Breezy said that somebody came and told him who Charleston White was. And while I understand why they would want to make you aware of who's in the building and what they may have done, I couldn't help but to think about King Von. Because that was the same circumstances King Von was in. They went and knocked on the door or the window, allegedly, according to what reports have said, and said, yo, such and such name is here. And he just went off. You see, so, yo, PSA to my homies, don't let me know the ops in the building. Let me know you sprung on them, or let me know you squashed it. Let me know you took some kind of action, but don't come get the money to come wreck the car. You see what I'm saying? If dude is the money, like I couldn't help but think that, because that to me is like, yo, why somebody always coming to report that somebody is here? Yo, if I don't like them, then you don't ever. Yo, you coming to tell me that somebody I don't like is here, but damn, we on the same team, so who I don't like, you don't something ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing. But I couldn't help but to think about King Von. Y'all got to break that out there. Stop running to tell your rapper homie or the dude this bringing the money in that the ops in the building or something. Like, if you gonna tell them, tell them to be aware, but don't tell them to go try to handle it. Or like, man, that's dude such and such, man, get at that. It's like, yo, y'all asking for dudes to crash out. Last week I was talking about NBA YoungBoy being worth more than $25 million. And people ask me all the time, like when he tweets certain things like about death and going to jail and shit like that. Sometimes I don't know how to feel about rappers when they do that. So I tried to examine what's going on with the young Stovall. And at first I'm thinking, yo, he might think the ops had them. I don't think it's that. I think dude think the label at them. Cause he dealing with that level of business. I think he think that if I don't sign the Atlantic, they gonna send me to jail. They gonna kill me. But if I sign to them, they can probably make this charge I got go away. I really believe deep down he thinking like, cause you gotta think he is big business. 100 gold and platinum plex is a big deal. So, and he might be privy to something that we don't know, but it seemed like that he think these people here by this kind of money will pull a flea flicker. And it seemed like that he think one is coming on behalf of them. I'm telling you, I spent some time thinking, do he think it's the ops? No. I think he think that label is trying to force him to sign some kind of way. And in my opinion, 25 million ain't enough. I explain why. Why, Loon? Because his audience is now grown. His audience are now finna enter the market as consumers. All those people that was young and listening to him on YouTube with all them views, they now entering in the job market and entrepreneurship and graduating and things like that. So he's about to see more money coming in. I'm the first one to identify that because I'm valuing the game in a different way. His audience has grew with him. That's why his presence has been so big on YouTube, is because he was dealing with an audience who didn't have a presence in regards to spending. They didn't have a spending presence, but they had a presence on YouTube to be able to watch him. They loved him. They liked him. His ticket sales was always about 20, 25. Now he's able to jump that up because now those guys that was watching him on YouTube 3-4 years ago, now 18, 19, and providing themselves some luxury. That's why you hear him in the NFL and the NBA and certain things in them locker rooms, because them young boys grew up with him. So I think he's worth way more than 25 million, especially if Drake got 400. Let's be real. I told y'all, I broke the whole game down. You don't always got to be the top player, but you need to keep up with the top player, because if he got 400 million at number 1 and I'm number 8, what does that land me? Longest number 2 get 350, and number 3 get 300, and number 4 get 250, and number 5 get 200, and number 6 get. I'm right in line on that and not budging. You know, but you got to pay attention, because if they wanted to do something to NBA YoungBoy, they could easily do it and blame it on the ops or blame it on some kind of weird, you know, home invade type thing. Like, it can get weird, man. You know, I pray that ain't the case, but when you look at his tweets and shit, it seems like he feels something or knows something that we don't know. Let's talk about rapper Queso. Rapper Queso out of Jacksonville, Florida, is currently incarcerated on a couple first-degree murder charges along with his father. Allegedly was seen on some tape aligning him or attaching him to a crime of first-degree murder, and also a couple other charges he has pending. I want to speak about this because now it's being known that his father is now testifying against him in court. And I want the hood and the ghetto and the streets and the entrepreneurs and the businessmen and the podcasters and the rappers and the athletes and all of us to understand and let this be a cautionary tale as to the streets being a place where it's hard to prevail. Before we kind of get into what happened and the circumstances, we're going to run it back to give y'all, because I'm sure some people don't know who this rapper is. So we're going to put in context who we dealing with, and then we'll speak about what is taking place. Let's take a look at Queso's charges according to the news in his local area.
We're learning about new evidence in connection to a local rapper accused in 2 different murders. Hakeem Robinson, known as rapper Queso, appeared in court again this morning, pleading not guilty to 2 separate first-degree murder charges. News4Jack's investigator Corley Peel shows us what his lawyer is now saying about the results from a body scan that Robinson participated in.
Hakeem Robinson, known as rapper Queso, stood before a judge in court on Thursday.
Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
He pleaded not guilty to his 2 different first-degree murder charges as a gang member. He's accused in the 2020 shooting death of Charles McCormick and the 2019 death of 16-year-old Adrian Gaynor, whose nickname is Bibby. Robinson's attorney told the judge they received the results from his body scan that was requested by the state. He says it showed Robinson could not be excluded from the McCormick murder.
This supports our position, so this is something that we're digesting right now.
Robinson's attorneys believe he does not match the description of the shooter seen in this photo. Records show McCormick was shot and killed at a shopping center off Merrill Road in January 2020. Investigators say a witness's dash cam video recorded the murder. According to the state, the video shows a person running towards McCormick with an assault rifle, shoots him repeatedly, killing him. The shooter's face is not seen on video. Records show Hakeem Robinson's data from the body scan was then compared to the data from the dash cam video. The state says the body scan would mathematically determine the actual height of the shooter. Robinson's attorney sent News4Jax a statement saying Mr. Robinson was precisely scanned with lasers from all angles. Months were spent doing complicated math to render the dense 51-page report. The result, Mr. Robinson can't be excluded, which is far different than a finding that he's the shooter. Interestingly, the report purposefully avoided certain simpler and positive comparisons, like the shooter's tiny feet compared to Mr. Robinson's huge size 12 feet. This wasn't a search for the truth by the government. It was an attempt to fix their case. 2 eyewitnesses described the shooter as short and skinny, using fancy scientific evidence. You don't need lasers and calculators, just 2 eyes to see that Mr. Robinson is all around bigger and taller than the shooter. Corley Peel, Channel 4, the local station.
The state has stated previously they feel there's enough evidence to convict Hakeem Robinson. We also have requested the official body scan results from the state, but we haven't received them yet. Robinson's next court date, April the 21st.
And so that was just kind of give you some framework of the cases. It's also involved in a drive-by shooting with his father. So I wanted to cite why the father was even involved. I know a lot of people may not know. Okay, so Loon, how the father even get involved? How the father get locked up on some of these cases? And I'll let the local news explain why. But again, pay attention to what's happening. He's involved with 2 attempted murders or 2 murders, first degree, and then this situation. Now, I'm not sure if this situation is a part of those 2 or how it interconnects, but I need people to understand that pressure busts pipes, but it also make diamonds. Let's pay attention to what's taking place.
Developing now, a father and son have been arrested in connection with a deadly shooting at an Arlington shopping center. 21-year-old Hakeem Robinson and his father, 49-year-old Abdul Robinson, are both in the Duval County Jail. Hakeem Robinson is charged with second-degree murder, and Abdul is charged with accessory after the fact. Investigators believe the 2 are involved in the shooting death of a man at a shopping center on Merrill Road back in January. That led to a police chase and manhunt in a nearby neighborhood. News4Jax reporter Corley Peel is joining us live. Corley, what else do we know about this father and son?
Sources tell us that Hakeem Robinson is known as a local rapper named Queso. At this time, it's unclear what he and his father's roles were in that deadly shooting, but our News4Jax crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson says it's not unusual for fathers and sons to commit crimes together. In January, surveillance video captured 2 men running through a backyard, jumping a fence during a police chase following a deadly shooting at a shopping center on Merrill Road. 8 months later, JSO announced 21-year-old Hakeem Robinson is charged with second-degree murder, and his father, 49-year-old Abdul Robinson, is charged with accessory after the fact in connection to that deadly shooting. News4Jax crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson says father and sons accused of committing crimes together isn't new.
It's an old adage that fathers are going to look out for their children or for their sons in this case. No matter what.
Sources confirmed to News4Jax Hakeem Robinson is a local rapper named Queso. He became a part of a News4Jax story last year for his controversial album cover that featured photos of murder victims. A mother of one of the victims told us the photo of her son was in spite of his death and not a memorial. Jefferson says Robinson's music videos and lyrics could help show investigators what he's been up to.
It just increases investigators' curiosity as to, 1, why he would continue to do this sort of thing, and 2, what is there more that they don't know.
Sources tell News4Jax that some of the lyrics in Queso's music reference gangs and violence. At this time, police have not said if that deadly shooting was related to a gang. Reporting live from JSO, Corley Peel, Channel 4, the local station.
Corley, thanks. A third man, Dominique Barner, is also charged with second-degree murder in the January shooting on Merrill Road. News for Jax learned today Barner is also charged with second-degree murder in the shooting death of a bicyclist on Emerson Street last year.
And so when I hear these things, I'm not sure I hear any real concrete evidence. I'm not hearing a weapon was found, a DNA was found. I'm hearing that cameras caught people running through without their faces. I'm hearing that 8 months later the arrest was made. Like, I'm hearing certain things, so I'm not sure the strength of the case. But I do know that the father has took a turn to cooperate against his son. Again, let's let the local news explain what's going on.
But more breaking news this afternoon. The father of Jacksonville rapper Queso will testify against his own son in a very high-profile murder trial. This according to brand new court records first reported by First Coast News.
On your sides, Ann Schindler broke the story just a short while ago and joins us from the newsroom. Now, Ann, this is a major development in a high-profile murder case.
That's right, Keitha. I mean, anytime you have one family member testifying against another, that's a big deal. But in this case, in addition to being father and son, both are reputed members of a local gang that's typically ruled by the Code of Silence. Now, according to court records, the 51-year-old Abdul Robinson Sr. has agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in a high-profile murder case in which both of his sons are charged. Prosecutors say that in January 2020, Hakeem Robinson, who performs under the name Queso, murdered Charles McCormick, who went by the name Lil Buck. Robinson Sr. was charged as an accessory after the fact in that crime and faced his own murder charge in a separate case. He faces 30 years to life, but if convicted, his cooperation with prosecutors could play a role at sentencing. Queso has helped popularize the genre known as murder rap, celebrating the violent deaths of gang rivals. He's also accused of the murder of Adrian Gaynor, a.k.a. Bibby, whose name appears in the viral music video, Who I Smoke. Police and prosecutors say all three Robinsons are members of the gang known as ATK, or Ace's Top Killers. Now, Hakeem Robinson has pleaded not guilty. Jail records show that his dad has been moved out of the Duval County Jail, presumably for his safety.
So the first question you ask yourself is, what kind of environment did you come from that your son is involved in those things, and then you involve yourself with the other side of it? And that's the thing about the street, because they had me so gone, man. I would have done time for people that I'm not sure, because as I now get older and see the game break down, it's like, yo, thank you, God. Because, boy, if I'd have been in one of them situations, I couldn't have. I would have went the other way. I would have kept it real. I would have stuck to the street code and went and done the rest of my life away from people that love me, about things that probably I shouldn't have been involved with, or I probably had limited involvement in. When I look at this, I'm like, yo, ain't nobody sticking by. That's why I tell my kids, don't let them trick you, man. These dudes ain't sticking by that. And then if you do got one nigga in your clique that is, it's a bunch of them that ain't. So the more people in your clique, the more chances you give yourself of somebody not being right. So just stay away from it. Go the other way. It's pleasant on the other side. It's money on the other side. It's women on the other side. Everything on this side is on that side. And you got this kind of blood in you, so they can't deny what you are. You're going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? But don't bite that apple and get caught up in that other side, man, because it's a loop. It's a hell of a little maze going on, to where the father and son end up in situations and supposed to stand on rules that the father can't even lead by example because the pressure became too much. Picture being told on by the same probably told you coming up, don't tell on nobody. Don't be a tattletale, don't snitch, don't this, don't that. Picture that they've now provided you paperwork that the man that birthed you is about to cooperate against you. Ask yourself why he done this. Let's read what he tweeted, because he ain't quiet about it. He said something about it. Let's read what he tweeted. Okay, so dad's tweets. If it was me and my daddy and he puts RIP to his father in a situation like this, I would have been freed my daddy a long time ago. No matter what my consequences would have been, no justification needed, especially if he's a good/great daddy. He put in parentheses that part. He can do more for me out of jail than in jail/prison. Who leaves their daddy in jail to rot? ? Especially when you know he innocent. I would have been stood up and said my dad ain't got a thing to do with nothing. You and out in the free world talk that talking till it's time to walk that walk, facing that life sentence. Hashtag free good / great dads. Hashtag yeah, I know y'all never do. And so after that, Boosie tweeted him like, yo, bro, look at your son pictures, bro. Don't do that to your son, man. It's your little boy. But he's speaking over his head when he talking like that. Because when the pressure get on, some people think the rules no longer apply. And a lot of the street guys I know, they do that. The rules apply to everybody except them when they in that situation. You know what I mean? So, you know, again, I think you got to be careful how you surround yourself with this street atmosphere and adopt it in a way, because evidently the youngster standing on it. He ain't saying nothing. He going to court. He ain't really saying nothing. The dad, you can't just don't say nothing. Just sit down for a second. Don't say nothing. They ain't really got nothing. Just chill. Nah, I ain't chilling. I got to get out of here. So let the streets know. Let everybody know. Ain't nobody off limits when it come to trying to get that freedom back. These dudes doing anything to get that freedom back. Don't let them trick you. It's only a few of them that's going to stand on that business. If you got a few of them in your clique that's doing that, you got to salute them. But a lot of them going to fold when that pressure come. That's just how it go. And them niggas going to be holding you accountable not to fold. And you got to know the difference. I think it's funny how they using lyrics against this young man. So we'll speak about lyrics against him and Young Thug. We'll do a Young Thug case update. For those of you unaware, Thug has been in jail. He got picked up on a RICO a few weeks ago. Him and a couple of his label mates, Gunna being one of those people. They face a lot of time in jail when they went and got Thug 7 new felonies because there was some guns in the house allegedly, according to the state DA. So a lot's happening with the case. They also filed some paperwork to get the lawyer off the case, saying that he may be a potential witness, and also that he has called in before and said that one of his clients have committed a crime which is involved in this RICO charge. So all these things being on the table, Thug and Gunna have both tried to go and get bond and been unsuccessful in the attempt to get back on the streets to fight the charge. Gunna's the last person that just went up for bond. They denied Gunna's bond. And again, I want to be clear on his involvement. According to what I've read so far, is just on 2 counts. Most of those counts being lyrics and having a chain. The lyrics thing is something that I just think needs to be protected, and I don't think we're loud enough about it until it's in our backyard. I think we need to have funds set to the side for legislation to be passed to be able to protect those that make art in the hip hop space. But Gunna was denied and they put him off to January 2023. They're ready to go to trial. Looks like the state is battling any of these guys getting out because they know the power of a rich individual with the kind of lawyer team that they have being on the outside trying to fight those charges. When they denied Gunna, they played lyrics. They played lyrics in which he was talking to the judge. Him and Thug was saying certain things in songs. And they told the judge that they don't want him out because they would further the gang's involvement in certain things. And they said something that was really interesting. They said that their greatest fear is witness tampering. First thing I said is, what witness? As far as I know, I haven't seen anything that says a witness is out there. So now they saying things without saying things. So basically they just let us know that they have witnesses involved in this case that's still out on the street that they think some of these people may get a hold to and kind of sway either not to be involved or have them non-cooperative at some point. So again, paying attention to what people saying lets you know. I'm sure the lawyers picked up on that. But when they said their greatest fear is witness tampering, I said, well, I thought your whole case was what you have, which was the phone calls and the charges and the drugs. I thought you had hard. So you got some people saying some things that you dependent on. I've also want to respond to people who are saying, Loon, you said the case is weak. Why you think it's weak? And again, we just talking on a podcast. I don't know everything about the case. I just tend to view things, and I've been involved in cases, and I have partners that's went to the feds, came home from the feds, and I've been involved and instrumental in understanding how and when and what got them the kind of time they had to face. So I understand certain things a different way. So when I look at it and I say it's a state RICO, it still doesn't sit right with me. Something about that still says to me that something is crazy, and people don't understand what I mean when I say that. And I'll put this as simple as I know how without me thinking of how to approach this. But the state is signed to the feds, right? So if it's a rapper, let's just say like the state is a rapper. So when they get a case, it's just like you being a rapper and you coming up with a hell of an album. You can't just put that out and you sign the Universal. You need to bring us that. If that album fire enough, we got you. We putting that out together. We want to eat off that. It's the same with these kind of cases. When the state presents the feds their album or their case, if they don't feel as though that it's strong enough for them to see a slam dunk, it's like, all right, now you can go ahead and go independent with that one. Do your thing. But they have to run it through them. And I just don't, for them not to pick it up says something to me. Even about what I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Unless somebody tells me that there's a different way, like a lawyer, someone tells me, where I'm from, it don't happen that way. The state ain't really doing that because the feds are involved in that. And again, number one, because it's expensive. But two, you're supposed to paint a clear picture. And I don't know if they've been able to do that with all parties involved. But they continue to use lyrics in court. I think that's unfair. I don't see the justification of being able to use lyrics in court, especially with the limited understanding and your interpretation of what I mean when I say ops. They say it with so much conviction too, like they just know. Ops means, you know, his enemies. He means he's gonna murder someone when he says that. It's like, yo, everybody, when J. Cole say that ain't what he mean. When Kendrick Lamar say that ain't what he means. So now everybody saying that don't mean that. And it's f***ed up that they don't respect the art form as the art form. Now, if you are rapping things that pinpoint crimes, you dumb. And that don't exclude nobody. You know what I'm saying? But alluding to the lifestyle or documenting the culture, documenting your circumstances or documenting your come up, I don't understand how that can't be viewed as art, right? Because my imagination takes me places in regards to my art. And they just will not protect black people in any way, shape, form. They want us to trust the police and deal with the response time in neighborhoods where they only come to arrest people. There's nothing there to help us. They don't provide us any help. They only prosecute us. And they hope that we don't notice that, but it's clear as day. When you come here, you have no problem arresting people. You have all the problem in the world saving people. You didn't show up quick enough to save such and such when he got shot. If y'all would just been a little quicker. But boy, when y'all came and got woo-de-woo about a federal firearm or a federal probation violation, boy, he couldn't escape if he wanted to. Y'all had the whole spot surrounded within such and such minutes. I'm just viewing what's happening. Yeah, so I ain't gonna lie, man. It feels good, man. It feels good, man. Being 100 episodes in, being committed, dedicated to something, you know, putting one foot in front of the other and being effective. You know, it take a long time in this game for people to build things. And I just feel like we headed in the right direction. So I want to thank everybody that be tapped into the movement and tapped into the shows, man. I'm humbled, especially the people that's on Patreon, because you're spending your money to let me know you really support what it is I do. So thank you, man, from the bottom of my heart. And this game, man, like I always tell people, it's a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood, and everybody's building things. And we just put a new house on the block with this Up There podcast. Welcome to the experience. I wondered, have y'all heard about the conspiracy theory that's surrounding the guy in Buffalo? For those unaware, the horrific event that happened in Buffalo when the guy went and killed a bunch of people, there was a black gentleman who was amongst those killed. he had just made a car that ran off water. And so this fuels some of those conspiracies out there. They're actually trying to say that this dude went there to get him out of the way, because you do need to understand that if you put yourself in a situation to make a car run off water, you do disrupt everything that they have in place. This whole structure is disrupted if you bring out something that runs off water. So just because we got a part and we having fun today, I think I'm going to look at a little bit of the guy, because he documented himself having this car that ran on water. And he was well documented of having it trademarked. I don't believe the conspiracy, but just for shits and giggles, let's take a look at a little bit of the video. And let's just let our mind wander about the conspiracy, because we are interested in certain things like this. I mean, we do know that things happen in the world that's much more weirder than this. So we're not closed off to anything being reality. And so we kind of indulge in things. Let's take a look.
Here, just step back. You got your hydrogen for your electrolysis. You got your batteries, your water. I want you to notice that you can get a shot of this showers. There's no water in the watch yourself. Okay, tank is empty. All right, let me put this back on. We're gonna need water in a minute. This is a agitator. So we're gonna do 4 experiments today for the patent examiners. The first one, you do need electrolysis.
Imagine
what
being
my
somebody
system
that
has done is taken advantage
found out a car can run off water. It's crazy. Just pay attention.
By the electrolysis. So we're gonna actually start this vehicle without any electrolysis. The second one, we're going to fill the water tank with water, and again, we're going to be able to start it without electrolysis and run this engine. How long, we'll find out. Then we're going to turn the hydrogen generator on, and we're going to let that produce some gas, and then we're going to see how long the engine runs with the hydrogen only. And then the fourth one, we're going to use the combination of
but just think about how can you be someone that has a patent on something like this and then end up being a security guard? This is an industry changing invention. There's no way you should be working as a security guard giving $17 an hour or something. But America is the land of the free, where if you have a great idea, you get rich, right? This is a crazy thing, if this is true. And he had a patent on it, and I think you have to prove something to get a patent on it. So for those of you listening, the video is available on patreon.com. It's up there, podcast. You have to see this invention. This dude has a car running off water. It looks like some kind of Chevrolet or Ford. He has all kind of notches in it, and it's a hell of a thing. But he ended up being a security guard at a grocery store. Not that inventions mean your life means more than the others. It's just saying that in this America that we live in, those that come up with these kind of things usually are well off. How do you end up not well off? Seems to be doing okay though. Has an RV out there. House has a couple cars out there. Garage, you know. And I have an RV, so they're not cheap. So right now, for those listening, he's exhibiting the ability to run this car off water. So he just cranked the car up. I think he's hitting all the switches to make the water and stuff come on. And again, people are saying a conspiracy that they had to get him out of here because this was about to disrupt what we know as the automotive industry today. And again, we don't second it, but we don't shun anything. We just deal with information, and we're interested in learning about the world. Not naive at all.
Okay. Now I'm gonna turn on the hydrogen. And then I'm gonna turn off the gas.
So evidently he's turning the gas off and it's running off water.
Gas is in an off position. And it's running on no electrolysis. So it's running on the hydrogen.
So the truck's running on the hydrogen right now.
It's running on the hydrogen right now.
And you shut the gas.
The gas is in the shut off position right there. Gas in the shut off position. Nobody got to watch it. We got time this. Okay.
Still wondering how you come up with that and everybody else missed it. All the scientists and all the engineers that they have working on this.
Okay, now it's not running off of gas fumes? No, there's no gas fumes. There's no
That house don't look too jazzy though. To have an invention worth so much money. Or to have a discovery, because I don't think you invented anything. I think you just discovered a way to use what's already here in a different way.
So what we have here is the gas valve.
See, I don't know much about cars, so I don't really know what I'm looking at. So they're showing a gas valve off, but again, with me not being an expert in this, but it's interesting to just see he's ran certain different bolts and different, there's an alternator, but he's ran different things in the car. Like I'm sure this big red pump that we're looking at is something to do with the water.
Hydrogen to engage.
That's what I thought. Okay, so the red is a valve for the water.
Vehicle and get some information from Mr. Salter. Okay, it's been running for how long?
It's been running for a minute and 17 seconds.
A minute and 17
Running
seconds.
for 30 seconds prior, so
that's with no water.
And so for those of you unaware, when you get a patent of this type, you have to prove its ability, right? So they're not just patenting something that doesn't mean anything. You have to prove what this does and how it does it so that we can patent that idea that no one steals it. But he's showing that the car, I guess, is running off water. And to be clear, I'm one of those guys that believe certain things. I've looked into things in our past, in America's past, that was said to be conspiracies that turned out to be true.
Okay, the vehicle is still running.
But how do we know? I mean, I know he said the valve is off, but is that all that we have to know it's running off water, like just from the visual eye? And how far can it go? Can it pull that weight, or is it just an engine running? Like, it's questions I have. And for the most part, everything in the inside looks like a normal vehicle outside of that big red pipe that I would believe, or that he's have already acknowledged, that has something to do with the water flowing inside and outside of that car, kind of feeding it the water.
Go to the rear and investigate.
And so are we dealing with an engine on that can accelerate, or just an engine running? Again, for those of you listening, they're now circling the car. They kind of just looked inside the car. They're talking to the guy that was now killed at the Buffalo shooting. Again, he is the one that has a patent. His name is Antoine Stalker, I believe. But he has a patent on something that he said would allow cars to run off water. Again, that would be a disruption to the entire industry. In this particular video that we're looking at, he's exhibiting that for patent purposes. You know, to get his patent solidified and ran through the state and the government. He's showing them the ability of the patent, or the use of the patent. So that's what we're looking at right now. Again, I'm not sure what's happening here. I think he's, again, just exhibiting the ability for the car to run off water. Let's see if we can get a little more backstory on what happened. For correction, his name was Aaron Salter. And again, he even had interviews. Let's look at a little bit of one of the interviews. Seems like he knew he had something. And again, if you know anything about these kind of things, then you know that the electric car isn't anything new. That's an old invention. It used to be cars that run on air and run on water. Listen, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I've read. I'm not sure, I wasn't there, but there is documentation that says cars used to allegedly run on air, allegedly run on water. So this is why this is interesting to me, for that to come back up and then him to be involved in they calling conspiracy. Just something for us to look into.
A few questions here. What is your current field of profession?
My current field of profession, I'm a Buffalo police officer. I've been a police officer about the last 27 years.
Okay, Mr. Salter, and what kind of background do you have in, if any, in chemistry, electronics, and automotive mechanics?
Well, I graduated from Hutch Tech. I graduated from Hutch Tech in 1984. After I graduated from Hutch Tech, I went to Canisius College. I went there for 4.5 years. Just credit shy of getting my degree, and then that was in 19.
I'm still again trying to wonder how he ends up with this very important patent invention in his hand without a
what spurred your interest
without that kind of background?
If I may ask, in hydrogen electrolysis systems for running automobiles, what spurred that interest? Is that the first project you ever had with of this sort?
No, I always guys used to laugh at me. I had built a solar collector where we collected solar rays and would heat my house, and a lot of guys showed interest in me doing that. But in approximately 2011, gas prices had went up to like $5 a gallon.
Correct, that is correct.
And so I went on the internet and I started looking some alternative energy sources, and I came across an article about electrolysis, and it was very interesting to me, and I purchased some plans of how to run your car on water from the internet, and I got it just to see. I was skeptical myself. I didn't believe that it would work, but I just wanted to see, if.
Again, for those of you listening, we're looking at one of the slain victims in the Buffalo shooting by the armed guy that drove 3 hours to harm black people by the name of Aaron Shelton, I believe, or Aaron Shelter. He was the inventor or patent holder of the hydrogen car and was involved in that particular horrific event. Conspiracy theories call for it being a target. I'm not sure about that. I don't second that, but I am interested in how someone like him ends up with the patent. What was his background? All these things to me are interesting. So we're looking into it just to see exactly what we get from it. Again, understand the gravity of what he was doing. If he introduces something that takes gas out of the picture, understand the gravity of that.
Oxygen.
Yes.
And with that, electrolysis is the process separates that.
Yes.
And that is a process by which, upon doing that, can you explain how, from your perspective, how that can actually run an automobile?
Well, the people have been trying to do this since the 1800s. So the experts pretty much know from the laws of thermodynamics. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, that says that you cannot produce enough, you can't separate the molecules fast enough to run an automobile because of heat. Okay, because the more energy it takes to separate the molecules, the more heat you get. So it has been tried by companies, it's been tried by nations. There have been literally thousands and thousands of people who have been trying to find the holy grail of getting getting vehicles or engines to run on through electrolysis.
Okay, now you know that you can go on the internet and you could see several people claiming to have achieved that. The most that I've seen was from 2012, these videos, but nothing else has come about that process since.
And again, while they're talking,
well, I believe
let's hear what he's saying.
That it could. There are additives that you can put in water to make.
Again, so while we're listening to him, again, I was on Wikipedia just trying to get some information about can cars run on water. Here is a document from Wikipedia saying that says it's true. Water fuel cars have been the subject of numerous international patents. So I guess plenty of people have patents on it. Newspapers and popular science magazine articles. The claims from these devices have been found that in some. So according to them, you can.
Deuterium water, yes. Okay, and deuterium is what, an element, a chemical?
It has more molecules of hydrogen attached to it. Okay? So when you split it,
see, but it's different to have it functioning. There's a lot of articles here. I'll have to spend some time on reading it. Let's listen to a little more, dude.
When you run voltage through it, you'll get 3 or 4 times the amount of hydrogen that you would get from just splitting water.
Okay, and for the viewing audience, we'll explain hydrolysis is a process of applying electricity to water to separate the hydrogen atoms and the oxygen atoms, which is H2O, which makes up water. So let's get into your system, Mr. Salter. What is your approach to solving, what have your approach been to solve the issues of heat? Does your system use deuterium water? Explain your system to us.
Yes, well, I realized after I got those plans, I tried to build it like the plan said, and I was not successful in that splitting the water fast enough to run a vehicle.
Okay.
See, again, that's what I was just explaining.
Okay, if you could use 12 volts.
It's a difference between cutting a car on and having it running at 60, 70 miles an hour and things like that.
Then it would be so easy to be done. It would already be done. Okay, normally people would just be running on it. You know what I mean? You could go out there and take a little can and put some stainless steel into it and put 12 volts to it, and all this hydrogen is gonna split and you run a vehicle. So that didn't happen. So what I started doing was, as I put current through it, I realized it produced heat, like the laws of thermodynamics says. The experts are pretty comfortable, the oil companies are pretty comfortable in knowing that there's not going to be many people that's going to be able to split it fast enough. So I realized that if you're going to...
So he's talking about his competition. Again, what I find interesting is that he had his own little approach at kind of what information was already out and kind of was building on it. So it wasn't a groundbreaking type of invention. It was a discovery that was made. Now it could have been a breakthrough and could have called for some interest from some higher people. When I hear people say that, or when I hear him say that, I thought about a couple of things. First thing I thought about is like, all right, so say we are able to run cars, and this is just me and just using my brain. Say we are able to run cars off water. All the water that's on the earth is all the water that's on the earth. You ever thought about that? Water and land is the only thing that, see, in America, it's a luxury, water is. But there's some places it's really hard to get water, but all the water on the earth is all the water that's on the earth. So it's not like that if you use it. Now, what we, I think, have been able to do with technology is reuse water and find a way how to reuse it, right? But all the water is all the water. Then secondly, I got to thinking, no, you can't just make cars. That what make Elon Musk so powerful. You can't just step into the car thing. Ain't but 3-4 of them anyway. You got Ford, Chevy, Dodge, certain thing. They don't let people in there. That shit worse than the record labels. You think Universal and Def Jam and all that is something, boy? Come out with a car and see the red tape they put around that motherfucker, try to get you out the way. They don't want no interruption. That's $1 billion thing. They stand to lose money with someone. They got to shatter market. See, if they had their way, Ford wouldn't share the market with Dodge and Chevy wouldn't share with Benz, and Benz wouldn't share with Bugatti, and Bugatti wouldn't share with Lamborghini. It's just they can't help it. And business people are smart enough to know when you can't help it, don't worry about it. Right? So when a podcast get big enough to where no matter what, I'm on the charts, now everybody, it's cool to fuck with. But when that podcast coming in, you need to act like you don't fuck with it. The same thing dealing with cars. When you're one of the people that's already in position, it's all good. Like, oh, you put the screen in your car, we'll do that next year. Ain't no big deal. But when Elon show up and he's changing cars, hey, we ain't running off gas. Cause see, what'll happen is you can't compete with them from a production standpoint. They're gonna get it done cheaper than you because they own the production and they own they own the manufacturing and they own the financing. So they'll put you in a situation where, oh, you want to compete car for car, so we'll make a better car than you for the next 3 years for cheaper than you to try to put you out of business because we playing a 100-year game. The way Elon got around that was, oh, you can make the same car as me, but I'm making something totally different than yours. So the people that come to me, they fucking with the electric thing. So it appeals to them in a different way. The same thing I'm trying to do in the podcast space is like, yo, they coming to y'all for the interviews, but they come to me for that real talk, for that comedy, for the game, for just the enjoyment. They come over here for that. It's a different thing. We dealing with the same people, just in different ways. I've even had it with girls at points of time like, yo, the way I had her and the way you got her is two different things. Like, yeah. Nah, it's a different thing. We got the same person just in different ways. And we got the same game, we just got it in different ways. But Elon was able to come in with a different thing. So it's like, oh, you can't out-production me on electric cars. Right, and then I'm gonna put the screen in there, and I'm gonna tell him to go fast. I'm gonna make sure to take right. So now for you to I make you at your powerful. I stepped in your market and didn't play your game though. Same thing with me, and I want y'all to just understand the parallels I'm giving you. I step into podcasting when everybody doing theirs on interviews, and I come putting the game down by myself. I'm doing the same thing Elon Musk did with cars, with the automotive industry. I can't compete with them with the interviews the same way Elon couldn't compete with them with just coming out with a cool SUV with a stock engine and a nice screen in it and stock wheels and stock seats and things like that, because they will take a loss to outproduce him to play the long game. So now I got to come into the market knowing that I can't compete from a production standpoint, but I can compete if I bring something totally different to the game. And I appeal to these people. Number one, I cut out a whole bunch of people that care about the environment to deal with me. Then secondly, the people that's cool in the techie shit, I appeal to them, right? Because you see that when you deal with a car, they try to do that. They try to give you certain little bells and whistles in the inside for the techie people that like buttons and like big screens and this and that. So now I appeal to them. I appeal to the environmentalists. I appeal to the people who are in the speed, right? But I can't mess with them in production. But I just offer something different. But you don't just sell cars. So if you do happen to have a patent that can disrupt something like gas prices, the gas industry. You know how much is running off of that? Like, I just thought about that. Like, yo, that's a hell of a place to be in. But again, that conspiracy I don't believe in. But again, there's some out there that I like. We gonna start just chopping it up on the pod and looking in it, like, and really giving the game out. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start doing all that, man, because the culture is the culture, but we got so much more to offer. Like, we interested in things. All right, let's talk about this and then we'll get out of here, man. We had a nice long pod today. I with y'all, man. Come to Patreon right now if you really support me. If you want me to continue to do this, I'm about to chop it down to 60 minutes and everything else go to Patreon. But Blueface, something is happening. I wasn't going to talk about it the next week, but I probably won't care about it next week because it probably won't live that long. So we'll discover it in real time and talk about it in real time. I do not know what's happening. All I know is Blueface, and his mother, his sister, and his girlfriend has got into it. So for those of you who are unaware, Blueface is a rapper from the West Coast. He had the hit song Tatiana. He's managed by Wack 100, so he's a West Coast guy. He does good numbers. He's active out there, and he has a fan base. So he's been dealing with this girl, Christine Rock. She's been doing a lot of things that's been very, very interesting, right? She took his car, BMW, or his Benz truck, G-Wagon, took his G-Wagon from California and tried to drive it way down south or something, got caught halfway through with some drugs, and she seemed to be one of them ones that's gonna go all the way though. And sometimes like that feistiness, sometimes you can't run from that feisty and be like, man, she is with whatever, and I can't live like it no more because I got money, but I see me in her. I don't want that. I'm trying to sit up and drink wine and have a big boy villa with 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of good swimming trunks in there, nigga, out of Versace. Yeah, I'm trying to have matching trunks and slides with my feet done, walking out the villa with my old lady bad. So I ain't really into all that, you know, but he a young dude. So he's been going through it with all kind of charges. She done broken his house, written his name in blood, got his name tatted when they wasn't talking, got her tooth knocked out. I mean, been a lot, and she's still been around. So again, something's happening right now. We're going to take a look at a video that's online and try to see what's happening. Apparently a fight is broken out. Let's take a look at the fight.
Already.
So that's Christine Rock. Damn, she. Okay, so I think this is his mother with a black eye. If you're looking at the video, so
just take their L and escape. They gotta play victim. That's crazy. You done beat their ass. They wanna say I did it. I'm a whole boxer over here.
I ain't gonna hold that whole fight. I'm the baby.
Shut up. You whoop they.
Okay, my sister.
They don't know how to handle it. So they wanna clout chase. That's crazy.
Okay, well, we giving them clout right now. Did you know that?
Man, they already got it. They talking about Blueface beat me up.
For real?
Oh God.
Why are they so evil?
They told the police to press charges. I ain't go to jail because I didn't touch them. Rock me. They talking about you finna catch a case like this. They didn't already call the police on us.
Get the kids on this bed myself. Bail me out.
They called the police, yes. Everything you guys were DMing, they tried that. They called the police and the police told them, you guys came trespassing. You guys came trespassing on this man's property, so yes.
She's just unappreciative. She's not a real mom.
They called the police already, y'all. We already dealt with the police. If I did anything to them, I would be in jail.
They're evil people to leasing. What are you talking about?
Nobody's in jail because nobody was in the wrong. Right. No, wait. I'm recording.
You are?
Right.
Yes.
Why did you beat their ass like that?
They give me no option. Okay, look, I got 12 siblings. They would have beat him up. I don't fight. I'm a baby.
Well, why you bleed them like that? They saying I beat them up.
They just want their money.
They fought a female. They saying they fought me. I'm a whole boxer out here.
Okay, quick question. What's
right? Just tell them why you beat them up though. My mom's still staying at my house talking about I beat her up. With her husband there.
I beat her up. But I'm not happy. But
Yeah. No, it's nothing to be happy about. It's just, yeah, like, why you beat my sister up though?
I don't even know what she was doing. Like,
She just pulled up for a fight, huh?
her pulled my hair and hit me. What you talking about?
Yeah, I know. It's all good though. You did your shit though. They crying wolf right now though. They talking about I beat him up.
How they cry wolf? My family didn't get to him yet. Babe, what's
They
going
crying
on?
wolf because they saying I beat them up. I physically touched them. Even though you just whooped them out, so they like.
Man, I can't lynch you. Why do you have to be in handcuffs?
Right? I damn near went to jail.
I can't lynch you. That's crazy. I'm sorry. Okay, so what's the plan? Because
Ain't no
they at
plan.
your house. We need to go
They
home.
can stay there. They can have a house.
No, I want to go home. Can you
They can have a house. They talking about I beat them up. That don't even make sense.
Okay, so you hear Blueface come back and just be like, yo, they saying I did it, man. That's a rough place to be in, man. You know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I can't never let nobody do nothing to my mom, and the people with me, they know. But it's like, what if your mom start really overstepping and really getting in the way and, you know, messing with their relationship, and they've tried to respect them people? You know, because according to Blueface, his mom is giving vibes of jealousy in his opinion. And I could never say that about somebody and their mom, because that ain't what I'm doing, but I'm dealing with the information. So he says it's giving she want to be my girlfriend energy. Like she don't like nobody that love me type thing. And that's a thing. That's a whole nother conversation, because that's a real thing. I even see kids sometimes not like if they mother fall in love or they father fall in love. I see kids not want their mother to have another child or their father to have another child. Or I see mothers not want their daughters to be in love with another dude, or the father don't want their daughter to be in love with another man, or the mother don't want their son to be in love with another woman. So that is a real thing. That's not something just to look over and ignore. You know, so when he speaks about it, it's not something that we won't ignore. Let's look at a little bit of the fight posted by Hollywood Unlocked. Shout out Jason. Let's look at a little bit of what they said took place.
Already.
She seemed to be whooping on him.
Already.
She wild though.
Already.
So no one's gonna pay attention to Rona.
Face went up. Yeah. Oh my. Oh.
Right.
Yes.
If you're looking at the screen, I don't really want to read all of this. Then Wack 100 came out and said, because again, that's Wack 100's client, calls cap on claims that Blue assaulted his mother and sister, says Christian Rock fought them both and drops text message with Blue mom. So if you're reading, you see the text message between Wack 100 and Blueface's mom. I'm just gonna let it run. It's too much for me to read back and forth, but you get a visual as to why they'll be saying that it's not true what she said. She said she's embarrassed to say this is her son. Wack says it goes both ways. Go look on his story. You know. So according to Wack, they threw something at her and then she reacted. Again, for those of you listening, you have to go see the video to read all of these exclusive text messages between Wack 100 and Blueface mom, to where I believe she's alluding to Blueface not having anything to do with it and Rock not starting the fight. Rock being the girl that Blueface is involved with, Christine Rock. It's a whole bunch of messages, so y'all just listen. Again, man, I hate to see this because this is this dude mother, his sister, and his girlfriend, all the women in his life going through things, you know, not liking each other, fighting each other, being involved with back and forth and actually fighting. I couldn't imagine the woman I'm fucking fighting, a woman that had me, and I'm in the middle of that. As a boss, I got to be able to figure something out, man. That's a weird position to be in. And it seemed like since he's ran into money, it's amplified people wanting to be around him for whatever reason. And sometimes when you got money, people want other people not to be around you because they want to be the person that reap the benefits of whatever crumbs that fall off your table. You know, they want to reap all the benefit. They don't want to see your kids or nobody else with no money. They want all the money. Again, Wack is saying, oh, I got the footage, believe that on my life, we got it. She's saying, please send it to me. He got the footage. He sent it to her. Again, this is his mom. This is Blueface that tweeted this. My mother does this with every female if she's pregnant at all. And here's a video of, I guess, his mom approaching someone that he has a relationship with and smacking something out of hand and trying to fight her. I think that's his baby mother that he's speaking about. But if you're watching the video, you see this. So she kind of reaches over such and it looks like she's talking and she snatched something out of her hand and grabbed it and throw it on the ground. And because that's your mother, she don't move. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, man, like. So, and then he says, tweet from Blueface, then play victim on socials. It's giving my mom want to be my girlfriend or something.
Already.
And then again, like I say, man, I hate to see this. We're going to listen to what his sister said, give a little bit more game, and we'll get out of here, man. But this is getting interesting. I don't think I care enough about it next week, so I definitely want to kind of give y'all my input on it while I'm here. Let's listen to what his sister said happened.
I don't really need to come to social media about, dumb shit like this. But one thing that I've learned with this shit is that once a story gets out, it's going to run like wildfire. And it is what it is. I don't do nothing but speak the truth. So if anybody knows me, my word is valid. I don't lie. I have no reason to lie. We dead ass pull up. I see Rock in the garage. I'm like, you already know what it is. You're gonna get your ass beat. He hops up, jumps over a couch, runs around the corner. Next thing you know, 7 gang members come from the top of Blueface's house or whatever, comes down and they surround us. Blue comes out and he's like, what the f*** are you doing here? Like, no, you let me beat up my mom, so you already know why I'm here. So you can tell her to put on some gloves, or she can catch she's raw knuckles. Nah, man, he ain't fighting nobody. Nigga. I kid you not. So
again, bro, this is just a sticky situation. Your family's your family. But mama, she hold different spot, bro. Like my mom and my woman, we all got to figure out a way to don't make me do this, man. Don't do this. A word I can't even function in the real world with this, man. Like y'all too, nah, man. Them the women in my, come on, we ain't doing that. Y'all figure that out because y'all know I'm the boss. I'm the head of it. I love mama. I'll die for mama on the strength, nigga, about anything. And then, baby, you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, them two people and the kids, all y'all got to get along. All they got to be good. Otherwise, the man can't function right. He can't go get no money. He can't take over the world and put it together no hell of a plan. Cause boy, it's just shambles in the house. And nigga, don't nobody want the woman that they love more than life, that had them beefing with the woman that give them life. You see what I'm saying? Nah, man, nah. So I feel for dude, man. Hopefully they find a way to navigate through that. Let's talk about the 8-Ball and MJG, man, and we'll get out of here. I meant to talk about this earlier in the show, but 8-Ball and MJG had a versus against UGK, of course, without Pimp C, RIP Pimp C. This versus let me know or reminded me of so many things about back in the day. I was just thinking like, yo, I forgot the record was hitting like that. Of course, the records with Pimp didn't hit like they would have hit if Pimp was out there with the mink on, in his vibe, because, man, Pimp carried the whole thing. But I still think the records did a good job. MJG records did a good job. In my opinion, this was Southern luxury. This was Southern legends. This was these dudes are kings in the South. And so I remember in particular one song came on, it was this record, and I was like, oh man, I remember this. There was that one right here. You know, the beat was just hitting so hard.
Oh, it's about to be a problem. That's right.
This one right here came on. I said, I forgot 8-Ball and them were doing it like that back in the day. MJG now.
What a sound.
Hey, and then they came in with that.
What it sound like, Chris 20s.
I said, oh man, they killing it. But them dudes was doing their thing, man. Even back in the day, man. Big 8-Ball, MJG. I always looked at him, and what was funny about the matchup is that I always looked at MJG and UGK kind of in that same vibe, like they kind of give me the same vibration.
I feel like a billionaire, like money.
But see, if you listen to UGK and Bun B, you know that him and MJG cousins, like, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, just watch how he come in and how he ride the beats and shit. Be thinking him. I had forgot Jazzy Faye was involved with a lot of that shit. You know what I'm saying? But again, Pimp C daughter came up. I said, man, shout out to Pimp and them people still get to eat off that, man. And Bun B holding his name. That kind of right there, again, it just gave me that MJG kind of vibe. And who won? In my opinion, UGK still won because I'm a mega Pimp fan, even though I'm from Tennessee. But I'm a mega Pimp C fan. So hearing some of them songs, and you know, I got Bobby by the Brown, Whitney by the Key, DJ Crew by the Gallon, business ain't belong to me. I got Bobby by the Brown and Whitney by the Key, DJ Screw by the Gallon, business ain't belong to me. I said, oh yeah, that Pimp, and just think it was way long time ago, and they had some certain sound. I'm like, yeah, they kicking it. I also noticed that 8-Ball called out Gilly, my homeboy, man, and that's the second time somebody done said something about Gilly lately. I don't know if they trying to, you getting a little too famous now, Gilly. I don't know if they putting you in that vibe, but they trying to kind of pick on you, or not pick on you, but get you in some press, or they everything you say, they examine it with a fine-tooth comb, because first it was Mac Main. You know, because Gilly don't hold no slurs. He don't hold no punches about like his run-ins with other rappers or what that may have looked like, or how dudes may have interacted with him weird when we saw each other in person and things like that. So one time he spoke about running into Lil Wayne and said, yo, that interaction was kind of weird. For those of you unaware, Gilly used to be signed to Wayne back in the day. He's a rapper. Used to be signed to Wayne and Cash Money and allegedly worked with them on some of their albums, and they had a falling out in the beef, and it was kind of a messy beef. And so now 10, 15, 20 years later, both of those guys still being able to thrive, in my opinion, is a good thing. But sometimes when they run into each other, Gilly says that experience is kind of weird. When he said that he ran into Wayne and Wayne got out of there real fast, Mac Main then posted a video of Gilly actually running into him and said that was a lie. So that when Gilly didn't respond to that, of course you don't respond, you make some phone call behind the scene. But on this verses, 8 Ball came out and said, yo, Gilly, you lying. Tell him who you was really in the car with. So Gilly usually, when he talks about the South and Jay Prince, he'll speak about a situation where him and 8 Ball was in the car and they had ran into Jay Prince about something. And I think there was some beef, and Nick got up out of there like, bro, there's Jay Prince. Go, get out of here. Like there was some beef. Like some people were paranoid. They were uncomfortable. And said dudes was ducking, leaving and everything, like it was just about to go down. And 8 Ball said that Gilly lied on him, that he wasn't in the car. Tell him who was in the car. He ain't never had no problem with Jay Prince. This is what he say. So again, I'm just wondering, is Gilly getting too famous? Is Gilly getting to a place now where they trying to pull him into, you said this, but it wasn't exactly that, or you did this and you meant that, and you know what I'm saying? Is you getting to that place where they gonna try to start digging shit up from the past and saying that you meant this and you not a good person because you did that? I hope not, but it comes with fame, so we got to be careful on our way up, and especially when we get to where we going. You dig what I'm saying? Another big boy episode of the fastest growing podcast in the world, the 100th episode. I made it long for y'all. I with y'all on the ride. We finna start unloading these episodes. I said I'm waiting to 100 in, and it's time to get to it. It's up there, podcast, Revolt TV. You know the vibrations, the biggest homie. Go get you some merch, and right now, come to Patreon and get with me, man. Right now, come tell me happy anniversary, 100 episode, or come tell me happy 100 episode, man. Congratulations, and subscribe to the Patreon to make sure that's my present, man. It's up there, podcast. We in here for the long haul, man. Let's get it.